So it doesn't click straight away that Del is pregnant. Hello and welcome to Long Live Hooky Street, the podcast where we rewatch and discuss every episode of Britain's most beloved TV comedy, Only Fools and Horses. I'm Heather and I'm joined from Denver, Colorado by my co-host and sister, Jenny. Say hello, dude.
Hello.
Today we are discussing Series 7, Episode 2, The Chance of a Lunchtime. So grab yourself a jammy dodger and let's get started.
This episode aired on the BBC at 7:15 p.m. on Sunday, the 6th of January 1991. And this week's viewing figures were up a little bit from last week at 16.6 million. For some reason, I've had a little bit of trouble this time pinning down the BBC schedules for this time. I have never had this problem before, but I cannot find full schedules. So I wasn't able to see what aired before this, but I was able to see that it looks like the whole of Series 7 episodes were followed by the airing of Series 2 of Lovejoy.
Okay.
So it seems that might be the only information I can provide each week for the airing. I even tried looking for radio times available on eBay from that time that I could purchase. Yeah. So that might end up being something that I'm able to get in the future. But as far as the online BBC schedules, they seem to have kind of dissipated, and it only shows the main things like this that aired. It doesn't show all the shows that aired around them.
Oh, that's strange. I wonder why that is.
So if anyone has like old printed media or ways of accessing the TV schedules from this time, that's interesting to see. So Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter by Iron Maiden was still the UK #1 song at this time, and there's also no changes to the #1 movie. It's still Home Alone in the top spot this week.
Not surprising.
Yeah, that carried on for a while. So a few little interesting episode facts. Scenes for this episode were actually the very first to be shot for Series 7, and yes, that does include Rodney Come Home. Day one of the production schedule provided to us by Mike Jones shows that the very first scenes shot were the wine bar scenes where Del waits for Raquel and then gets shunned by her and Adrian. The studio shootings for this episode took place on Saturday the 1st and Sunday the 2nd of December 1990 with Jeff Stevenson warming up the audience. That's the comedian from Little Problems.
Yeah.
We get a short-lived exploration here into the pre-Del Raquel in this episode for the last time, and we see Raquel attempting to continue her singing and acting career from before she returned to Peckham. It sounds like if she hadn't gotten pregnant, she may not have been around as much as Del would have liked. John Sullivan says in a quote from the Lovely Jubbly book, "I was trying to show the audience what kind of situation could possibly frighten Del. It wouldn't be a big bloke coming at him with a broken bottle. Del Boy would be able to deal with it. What would make Del really frightened would be if he thought Raquel might leave him for somebody who she considered to be culturally superior."
Or going to hospital, or God.
Yeah, I know. I thought that too when I read that quote. I guess abandonment is his third fear.
That makes sense, given he's been abandoned by his parents.
Weren't her fault. Sullivan chose a song by the same artist as the closing credits for Rodney Come Home. So Joan Armatrading's song Love and Affection is playing in the restaurant scene here where Rodney and Cassandra meet. Perhaps a little nod to the end of Rodney Come Home there. And speaking of Rodney Come Home, this is the first time that we've seen Rodney and Cassandra converse since the big argument at the end of the Christmas special. Del is selling musical doorbells in this episode that play 36 different national anthems. But can you remember how many national anthems did the Watches play in To Hull and Back?
I think it was probably 36, wasn't it, again?
I think so. We'll have to check in on that.
Yeah.
So all location shooting for this episode took place in Bristol, and I will add in all of those specific locations as we go through the episode. And finally, we end on a low for Rodney here and a high for Del. Rodney loses his job in this episode, and here we see the first steps towards Trotter's independent trading getting back to their old ways.
Yes.
And as usual, I'll have more trivia to scatter throughout the episode, so shall we move on to the episode rankings, dude?
Yes, let's do that. So our regular listeners will know by now, each week we reveal and compare our rankings for the episode, and prior to recording the entire podcast, we independently ranked all 64 episodes. So if you didn't already know all that, then you are not yet one of our regular punters, and we would love for you to subscribe to the podcast. We release a new episode every other Saturday or every Saturday, depending on how long the episode is, and we really do need more subscribers. We're looking to get to 1,000 by the end of the year, so keep telling your mates about us, and please do give us a like if you enjoy the episode. We really need your support to continue putting in the time and the effort that we have been. You can also go ahead and follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and only if you feel inclined, you can also buy us a pina colada on buymeacoffee.com. All the links will be on the channel page and in the episode descriptions.
Special thank you to everybody who's been buying the pina coladas, commenting and sending us messages. As always, we're very grateful.
Very grateful, yes. And we love reading your comments.
Okay, so let's go into our rankings. Let's see. Let's do your ranking first this week, dude. And I'm going to guess it.
Okay.
Can I guess? Is it number 47?
Wow, accurate.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Number 47. How did you know?
Because I'm looking at your sheet, that's why.
Yeah, no, but I mean, how did you know it was 47 and not one of the other slots I've got available?
Yeah, so you have 38 and 39 free, and you have 43 free. And I didn't think that it was those, so I wanted to go on the lower end and guess 47.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're all, well, you, me, and IMDb are very similar this week.
Okay.
I have an IMDb match. Do you want to guess?
Okay. Since you weren't surprised that mine is 47, I'm going low for yours. I don't have the spreadsheet in front of me, but I'm guessing yours is in the 40s as well.
Mine is 45.
Oh, very close.
45 pounds. And yeah, 45, same. IMDb is 45.
Interesting. And Fran?
Fran is way high again. And so I'm going to go ahead and guess that this is just Fran's favorite era and Fran's favorite series. And she just loves all these episodes. She has this as her number 7.
Wow. Mine's 40 places lower.
I think,
crazy.
yeah, I would say this is one of those times when we've discussed before these episodes, the 50-minute longer ones with Raquel and stuff in, are some people's favorite comfort era, and I can completely understand why.
Yeah.
Because these are the episodes that this one, no, again, same as Sky's the Limit. We didn't have this one until we got VHS.
No.
All the others of Series 6, Series 7, we had all the time. We had recorded off the TV.
Yeah.
We didn't have this one, and we didn't have the Sky's the Limit. So to me, these two are the newer ones that I am less familiar with. But they still do have that Series 7 kind of comfort vibe where it's just a lot of sitting around in the flat, lots of conversations and stuff. So I do get why people like them. But
Yeah.
as far as plot goes, yeah, this episode's pretty weak on plot.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Oh, absolutely. I think that the main thing that you remember from this episode, even now, and this is what I remembered when I was a kid too, after I saw it, is the musical doorbells.
Yeah, the doorbells, yeah.
Because I feel like that's probably one of the only jokes in this episode, actually. Like, it's crazy because I did the episode breakdown for this and I did it today, right before recording. So it's very fresh in my mind.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was looking for the jokes all the way through. It's something I'm going to talk about more as we get into the breakdown. But everyone who has listened to the podcast, for multiple times now, they know that I like the jokes. I like the big laughs, and I really couldn't find them in this episode. And I think that's why it's gone lower for me again. And we've got more of the Cassandra and the Rodney stuff, and then we've got a little bit of Raquel being a bit as well in this episode. I'm not a fan of the way her character is in this episode either. So yeah, all in all for me, I can take it or leave it. I mean, it's fine in the sense that it's Only Fools and Horses. Of course, I love Only Fools and Horses, and I'll always watch Only Fools and Horses regardless of the episode, but it's one of the weaker ones for me. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, and there are Rodney come home vibes in this episode because it's it's got the print works, it's got Rodney and Cassandra talking, it's got, low plot, like lots of focus on conversations. It's got Rodney come home vibes. In fact, I do say this later, but we may as well bring this up now. I could never remember which order The Sky's the Limit and The Chance of Lunchtime were in. I could never remember. And the fact that Cassandra's not in The Sky's the Limit and they talk about Tanya in this episode, it feels like this episode is the next one after the Rodney come home. Yeah,
it does. That's a really good point. Yeah, definitely.
So that's why they feel like they flow together, I guess. But yeah, I think overall the plot bleeds from those two episodes together. So I think that's why this one has Rodney come home vibes. But I mean, I love the musical doorbells, and I think it's very classic Trotter product to be selling. So that's why this episode to me does make me laugh. And when I rewatched it, I did laugh a lot at the musical doorbells. And there were another couple of moments that I think are really funny. So I don't think it's a terrible episode or anything, but it could have been a half an hour and I'm not sure we would have lost anything. And I think you can't remember what happens in this episode. Like you say, people will talk about the musical doorbells, but if you ask someone what really happens in this episode, you can only say Rodney for some reason resigns from his job, and at the end Raquel announces she's pregnant. I can't really think what else you could really say happened.
Yeah, that's the thing people would remember from the plot. Yeah, that this is the episode we find out Raquel is pregnant, because that is the only thing in it I think that is an important plot point. Yeah,
and it's the only thing that really moves the plot along. So that's again why you can't remember which comes first out of The Sky's the Limit, because those 2 episodes, the 2 where she's not pregnant, and then you've got the rest of the series. I mean, in Stage Fright, she's only a little bit pregnant, and then she's full-on pregnant for the last 3 episodes with a big belly.
Yes.
So, to me,
That's
these
true.
2 episodes are the 2 before she gets pregnant, and they are interchangeable in position in the line to me. Yeah,
I agree with you.
I know Rodney quits his job at the end of this one, so obviously this is the second of the 2, but they seem similar.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you've said. I think we're pretty in agreement on this episode and how we feel about it. So, but it's my turn to do the breakdown. So,
yeah,
how did I get this and Rodney Come Home?
I don't know. Overall, yeah, it's not that we planned it because we just alternate. Yeah.
No.
The only time that we switched is when Heather wanted to do healthy competition.
Yes, that's right.
If there's nothing else to talk about with the rankings, then why don't we move on to our episode breakdown?
Let's do it. So we begin in Nelson Mandela, and it's the morning time, and we see that Del is making some tea for everybody, which makes a bit of a change. I don't think we often see Del making the tea. As he's carrying it on the tray, he accidentally puts out his cigar in one of the cups, so he swaps the cup and gives that one to Albert. So a bit of physical comedy to start the scene.
I think that's a really great little bit of physical comedy. I really love the way that he just pulls the face as he goes. Tss.
Yeah, that's pretty funny, and honestly quite a believable mistake that Del would make. So yeah, I think this is the first time that we actually see Del's bedroom, right?
Well, it's in The Sky's the Limit, but this is the first time we see them in the bed part. They just go in the doorway in The Sky's the Limit. So
yeah,
this is the first time, and that's why when the camera cuts, I think the audience laughs when they see Raquel sitting in the bed, because you get the full effect of the big pink headboard and Raquel in the bed. So yeah.
Yeah, I said it's pretty much what I think all of us expected Del's bedroom to look like, but just to describe it a little bit. So there's this very old lady looking red carpet, which has some sort of pattern on it, and this looks a bit gross and dated, probably something that's been there since the 60s. And there's a TV mounted on the wall, which I was quite surprised. I never noticed that before. I didn't think Del would have a TV on the wall in his bedroom, because that was quite a big deal, I think, in the 90s to have had something like that.
Yeah, do you want me to read my...
Yeah, go on, you can read it, because I've written a description of it, but I guess it's better to hear the one from the script.
Yeah, let's hear, because we can compare the two. The script's description of the bedroom is... The room is decorated in what Del believes is of a sophisticated style. The bed has side tables built into the modern swirling brass headboard. On the bedside table contains the built-in controls for his radio, and the other table contains the built-in controls for hidden lighting. None of them work. The bed is covered in black satin sheets, and these in turn are covered by a mock tiger skin bed cover. On the walls hangs one modern painting of a nude woman, a painting of a Ferrari sports car, and a Turner print. On the pine and brass dressing table stand numerous bottles of aftershave and deodorants. On the floor stand 2 or 3 large cardboard boxes. And that's it. Yeah, so that basically, it's again supposed to be another Del room that we think looks tacky, but he thinks it's very sophisticated, because he obviously loves the leopard print, doesn't he? He loves the tiger print.
Yeah, I put leopard print, but yes, I think it is more. I think actually no, it's leopard print, or it's the color of a leopard, but it's tiger.
It's stripy,
shaped.
So it's tiger, because it says tiger skin, and his underwear and suitcase is tiger as well. It's stripy. It's not, because leopard print is spotty.
Yeah, I think it's because I think the color is leopard rather than orange. It's not orange enough to be tiger, but it's like the color of what a leopard would be. So that's why I always get confused, I think, between the two.
Yeah, but here is where you can see that trouser press from the hotel in Spain as well. If you notice when he comes into the foreground of the conversation, and that's not mentioned in the script.
Yeah, I also noticed the Adidas boxes that you mentioned before that are in his room. So it looks like trainers, maybe.
Yeah.
Like trainer
Well, you don't
boxes.
get to see what's in them, but yeah, it would make sense for that brand, wouldn't it? That they'd be shoes. But yeah, you don't get to see what's in them.
And that's what he covers up when he thinks that a policeman's coming in. So, but actually, I think the biggest eyesore, as you mentioned, is probably the headboard. It's like the gigantic purple satin with the gold heart in the middle. And yeah, I mean, I did want to point out a little bit of colour coordination here, because there is like the purple door, the purple headboard, and there's actually a purple painting, or at least the border of the painting is purple next to the door. So, you know, not something you'd expect Del to have colour coordination, but there is actually some. So that's nice.
Yeah, I guess so.
And when I was younger, I would have loved a bedroom like this, because I was totally into like blow up furniture and lava lamps and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And we do actually see a lava lamp in the living room later on. So
They do have a lava lamp. Yeah. It's easy to just say, oh, this is like tacky, but a lot of people like this kind of decor. And yeah.
It's colourful.
It's very boudoir, you know, the big pink swirling headboard. There's nothing wrong with it. I think the thing about Del is that he always clashes patterns. If he didn't do that,
Yes.
if he got rid of some of the patterns, some of this coordination would look better.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but it's all in all, I don't think it's that bad. I wouldn't mind if that was my bedroom. So Raquel is sitting in bed, and we find out that she's trying to learn her words for an audition. So it looks like Raquel is still trying to get work as an actor at this point, which you mentioned in the introduction. And this is really the last time that we see her sort of going off and trying to get work on her own, right? Obviously in Stage Fright she works as a singer, but that's for Del.
Yeah, I mean, she does go to an audition at the beginning of the class of 62, or at least it's spoken about the audition. But
Oh, yes.
she says in Stage Fright that she's going to put her career on hold for 18 years because she's pregnant.
Right.
And then she does go to the audition at the beginning of the class of 62. But to me, this is the last episode where it seems like she's actually trying to make it a career, because after she gets pregnant, everything else she does, it's not really with intent of making it a career. If you kind of feel like she's maybe just trying to get a gig to make some money.
True.
This feels like she still wants this to be her career in this episode for the last time.
And in some ways, that is really depressing to think that she literally gave up on her dreams so she could have a baby with Del, because that's literally what she's talking about in this episode. So yeah, she's actually very down on herself when she's talking about her audition.
I wish I'd never agreed to this audition in the first place. I'll never get the part anyway.
Hey, come on, you're giving up before you've even started.
You don't know how nervous I get at auditions.
Oh, you'll be terrific. You remember the old saying? Hey? She who dares wins.
So it already feels like this is a bit of a change in Raquel's character from what we saw in Dates, because even in like the last couple of episodes, she seems very unsure of herself, and Del is like doing his best to prop her up. But like, don't get me wrong, this isn't uncommon for actors, like even ones who've been doing it professionally for a long time. Like, they get really nervous before auditions. But I always felt Raquel sort of carried herself with this quiet confidence, and I feel like this has gone away a little bit now. Do you think?
It's difficult because I don't think it's been in the forefront enough for us to say, oh, you know, she's confident, she's good at it. Think about Dates. She mostly just spoke very positively about drama and performing arts with a lot of joy in her eyes and stuff. So, but we didn't really hear her talk about her own performances that much, right?
I mean, she joked that she was awful in Double Cream when she was singing with her friend, but she kind of seemed to do it with a bit of joy. I mean, this genuinely sounds like she is terrified, and this is kind of, you know, shown all the way through this episode. So I just feel like that quiet confidence that Raquel has doesn't seem to be there in this episode.
She doesn't seem super confident. You're right. Yeah, that's probably the best I could say about it. It's hard to say. I don't think we've had her at her round enough to say whether she has changed really, or whether this is just her character, because this is the first time we've seen her do like an audition while she lives with Del, so we don't know.
That's true. I mean, we saw her go on stage, obviously, with the great Raimondo, and she doesn't seem nervous at all in that scene. But of course, when we see her in the next episode, she's terrified to go on stage and sing.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just something that John Sullivan decided to highlight a bit more about her character at this point.
Yeah, and these episodes were all written together, so it's like maybe helps to be more believable in the next episode how scared she is.
Yeah, maybe. But I also thought it was very sweet of Del to change his famous saying to "she who dares" for Raquel's benefit.
Yeah, that's my main takeaway from this bit, is how sweet and supportive Del is, and how confident and happy he is about her career, and how much he wants her to be successful.
Yeah, totally agree. So Raquel thanks Del for giving her encouragement and talks about her ex-husband, saying that he thought that her dreams were a waste of time. Now, of course, because we know who her ex-husband is already, we can certainly imagine him saying things like that.
Yeah.
Although Slater himself was very ambitious, so I don't know. He obviously thought his own dreams were very important.
Yes.
So Del continues to tell her to never lose sight of her dreams, and Del talks about his dreams of becoming a millionaire. Raquel then talks about her time in America. And the way that she talks about this was like it was years and years ago, but I assume she's referring to the recent trip that she mentioned, like just after the Jolly Boys outing. It's like, do you remember that when I went to America? It's like, yeah, like a few months ago, right?
Yeah, it was supposed to be. Well, let's think she came back. It was supposed to be like 6 weeks. Rodney come home. Yeah, so like it should have only been like a couple of months.
It's like, no, I don't remember that. So she speaks about like big theatres and big dreams and show business, which honestly I myself can relate to because I once had those dreams myself. Although being famous in this day and age would not be very fun.
No.
I'd imagine, like given how mean everyone seems to be online. Oh, except for our listeners, of course. Our punters are lovely people.
Well, but yeah, when you were famous in these days, the internet was not a factor.
Yeah.
And I think and I still don't think it was great back then, but it's so bad now to be in the limelight and the spotlight.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't have wanted it, and I don't really want online presence at all, but like to do the podcast is different because I feel like it's a niche following, and you know, it's just audio, and we're not forcing ourselves in the face of anyone who doesn't love the show. So like you can choose to listen and enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's not like you're seeing us every time you scroll on social media because we haven't done anything like that. We haven't advertised.
No.
We basically we're here if you're interested. But yeah, we're not like pushing ourselves on people.
Yeah, that's true. So Del continues to encourage her, saying that at least she had a go. But Del, of course, misunderstands what she said when she said she wanted to go and perform at the Met, thinking that she was referring to the Metropolitan Police Force.
Yeah.
And Raquel actually does something really nice here. She doesn't like point out his mistake, but instead she just kind of goes along with what he says, which I think shows that she's also being encouraging to Del as well. Like she wants him to feel good about himself and, well, at least this point in the episode. So this leads into an important revelation.
Although I wouldn't have had to do much research. My husband was a policeman.
He was a cop. Cop. Benny.
Yeah, didn't I ever say?
No, you did not. You never told me that.
So Del starts covering up things in the bedroom as though the police are about to raid. And this actually reminded me of the sequence in Long Legs of the Law when Rodney's brought Sandra home with him.
This is pleasant, isn't it?
Wasn't hiding any export gin, though, this time. So we find out that Raquel hasn't seen her husband for years. And that calms Del down somewhat. But Raquel finds all this very funny. Not so funny in a few episodes, though. Hey, Raquel. So there's a knock at the door, and it's Rodney in his suit, ready to go to work. And unfortunately, we are straight back into the Rodney and Cassandra of marriage problems. Del says he's going around to the flat to install a new doorbell. I can't imagine Rodney or Cassandra agreeing to that. But anyway.
Actually, he's fitting a new door, not the doorbell.
Oh, I thought he said new doorbell.
Well, he might say that, but the idea is that Rodney kicked in the door and Del is fitting a new door.
Oh, you see, I thought that he was just putting a new doorbell in and the door had already been fitted. Oh, that's interesting. I need to open my friggin' ears.
Well, I'll tell you more about that in my notes, yeah.
So Rodney is still saying the same thing, that he will only see her if she makes the first move. And Del asks if there's any message for Cassandra, and Rodney just says,
Yeah, say hasta la vista.
which Del also misunderstands.
Vesta? That's a ball in a bag curry, innit?
Spanish for ball in a bag curry.
I thought it was.
Now, I have no idea what that is. Can you tell me what that is?
What, a
ball in a bad curry?
A boil in the bag curry?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, boil in the bag curry is just it's like a quick way of making curry. You know how you buy it's basically in a plastic bag, and instead of cooking it from scratch, you just boil the bag. Like you throw the bag in a boiling pot of water and it's ready in like a couple of minutes. A boil in the bag. It's not just curry.
Oh my God, I have literally heard that wrong the entire time that I've heard this line. I thought it was a boil in a bad curry. Not a boil in a bag curry. That's so funny.
A boil in a bad curry sounds disgusting.
That's why I was like, that's disgusting. That's why I was like, what the fuck is that? That's why I was so confused. Oh man. Okay, never mind. So Raquel, again, going out of her way to make sure that Del doesn't feel bad and, you know, not correcting him when he messes something up.
Yeah.
And that is where the scene ends. So not a big amount of laughs in this scene. A little bit more soap opera style, again, I would say. But any notes, dude?
This is the scene where Rodney knocks on the door and comes into the bedroom and says, am I interrupting or anything? Oh, well, better look next time, right?
And goes, oh,
Yeah.
Oh, never mind. Yeah.
It is a little bit strange, isn't it? Him coming into the bedroom with Del and Raquel in bed. But I don't think it's strange, because I remember when we were growing up, it wouldn't have been weird at all for us to knock and come into each other's rooms when we had our partners round and stuff. But for some reason, it just feels like Raquel is always just in her pajamas and everyone's just going into the bedroom and stuff. Like, it feels like she doesn't have a whole lot of privacy, but maybe it doesn't matter. Like, none of this matters.
I just think back to the line in Second Time Around when Rodney goes, "That's my mum's room."
Right.
It used to be mum's room, Rodney, but now it's my room. So maybe he does feel a little bit like he's entitled to go in there.
Yeah, that's true. And then just to go off the back of a comment we got yesterday on Rodney Come Home, the difference between Pauline, for example, who's the only other woman we've seen live at the flat, albeit for like 10 minutes of one episode one time. She didn't let Rodney in the room, and she wouldn't cook for Albert, for Grandad and Rodney. But Raquel is like immediately part of the family. She's cooking the same meal for Albert that she cooks for Del in Rodney Come Home, and she's perfectly happy with Rodney coming in the bedroom. So like Raquel is not in any way kind of trying to change the dynamic between Del and Rodney, which is very sweet and something we should highlight about Raquel's character. She's a great addition to the flat in that way, because she fits into the flat the way that it's always been. Yeah, so it was Rachel Fleming that mentioned that in the comments for Rodney Come Home.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so I have a few other notes. So I know we find out later, but at this point, the audience is probably wondering, because you sort of seem to glaze over this. They don't mention in this scene then that Rodney kicked the door in at the flat?
Not in this scene, I don't think. It's definitely mentioned in the scene in the restaurant.
And you think that Del just says he's going around to fit a new doorbell at their house? Because the reason I'm mentioning this is because the next scene after this was supposed to be the scene with Del fitting the new front door. And later on, you can see this. It would all come together. If you think about the bit where Rodney goes back to the flat. Well, first of all, there's the conversation in the restaurant where Cassandra says he kicked the front door in. And then when Rodney goes back to the flat at the end, you can see that the door is new because it's like untreated wood, and the numbers on the door are wonky.
So I've actually just looked up the scene in the episode about the front door, and he does say, "I'm going around to do your front door, not to fit your doorbell." But he doesn't mention anything about the front door being broken and why it's broken.
Yes, so I think that's all included in the next scene. So there was another scene between the end of this scene and the beginning of the next scene where Del is actually fitting the front door and Cassandra is in the scene. So this scene was actually recorded, because the only way I know that is because there's photos of Del wearing like an overall style thing, like from Touch of Glass, and he's holding tools, and he's standing by the door with Gwyneth Strong. The script also has this entire scene in it, but I think the reason that it was cut out is because the dialogue is almost exactly the same as when Del tells Rodney what Cassandra said and sets up the date. So you're basically just seeing the other side of his setup.
Yeah.
But the wording is almost exactly the same. Like, he hands Cassandra a piece of paper and she says, "That's not Rodney's handwriting." And Del's like, "No, that's my handwriting." And then he says, like, Rodney wants to woo again. Like, the dialogue's almost the same.
Right, that makes sense.
It still would have explained a little bit more about the door part, because I think the problem is here that, we don't know that Rodney kicked the door down. So the next scene might have explained that, and I think it does. I think Cassandra says that Rodney kicked the door in the next scene. But again, this goes back to the whole where was sky's the limit in all of this, because later we find out that Rodney tried to go back to the flat to surprise Cassandra and found out that she changed the lock. That's why he kicked the door in, right?
Yes.
So then it sounds like they haven't spoken since the end of Rodney Come Home with the Tanya stuff.
Yeah.
The order is weird because, it seems like he would have done this right after Rodney Come Home, and we don't really understand what's happened to the door at this point.
No, I completely agree with you. The timeline about what happened between Cassandra and Rodney after Rodney Come Home to now is completely fucked up. Like, it doesn't make sense. I completely agree. I said I wrote more about it later on.
And I think we said this in The Sky's the Limit because Gwyneth Strong doesn't appear in The Sky's the Limit. And I always had this idea that she was like somewhat unavailable for this whole series because she's barely in Series 7.
Yeah.
She hasn't been in it, so it's almost like all the Rodney and Cassandra problems take place off screen, and all we see is Rodney coming in looking depressed going, "I ain't talking to her."
Yeah.
So that's the reason that the story seems a little weak, I think. That's probably why.
Yeah, that could be.
So Rodney says hasta la vista, which means see you around in Spanish, but he says Vesta and the script says Vesta, which is weird. The word is Vista, or Vista.
Yeah, I thought I didn't get that. Does he say Vesta just for the next joke to work?
I thought it was, well, I don't know. Yeah, maybe. It's probably, I didn't know whether he was supposed to be saying it wrong, like Del always says the French wrong, but the script says Vesta.
But Rodney doesn't usually get things wrong like that.
Exactly,
Yeah,
he doesn't. So that's why, again, it's not, I'm not sure of the joke. So one other note about the door part of the scene that was deleted is that you see like later that the door is done poorly.
Yeah.
It's obviously without that scene, it's not necessarily super highlighted, but the script says that Cassandra says the door looks too big. And Del says that the wood will shrink over time. So, but later, if you look closely, all of the numbers on the door are completely wonky. Like they're not straight at all. It looks like some child stuck them on.
Right. I didn't notice that.
Yeah, it would have been a callback to this scene. Yeah, that was it I have for this scene. Yeah, that's everything.
Okay, cool. So now we go to Nelson Mandela. Or should I say we stay at Nelson Mandela?
Yes.
But it's the evening time now. So the same day, but later. And Del is sitting at the table putting batteries into his new doorbells. And Raquel enters with a coffee and asks if Albert did the shopping, and he says that he didn't because he felt ill that morning due to the cup of tea that he drank, which of course we know Del dropped a cigar into.
Oh, poor Albert.
Yeah. Del looks, that look that he does when he's guilty and he pretends not to know what someone's talking about. So we find out that Raquel went to see her agent today. So Raquel has an agent.
Yeah.
I mean, that never comes up again.
No, it doesn't. Yeah.
I mean, it seems to me in dates anyway, which is the only other time that she really talks about her career, is that she kind of goes and gets jobs off her own back, or she goes to auditions off her own back. Having an agent is quite a big deal because they take a percentage of the work that you do, and it's not easy to get one. It's not like just anybody can walk in and sign up. You have to be scouted a lot of the time to have an agent. So yeah, that could do with a bit more explanation.
Well, I mean, it doesn't go anywhere, does it? Like her career, that's the thing. But the thing is,
no,
I suppose if it is a full-time job for her and she did tour America, it's possible that she has an agent or she signed up with an agency.
Yeah. So we see that Raquel is still trying to get Del to eat healthier food, but to no avail. And it turns out that Raquel's audition is tomorrow, and she's auditioning for the part of Rosalind in Shakespeare's As You Like It, which is actually the part of a woman who disguises herself as a man, for anyone who doesn't know the play. So Raquel has to learn a lot of lines by tomorrow, and Del offers to help.
I'll rehearse with you. I'll read all the other parts so you can get used to it.
You?
Yes, me. I used to do a bit of acting when I was at school. Bloody good I was and all, yeah.
All right then, thanks.
All
I'll
right,
get the
darling.
dinner on.
Yeah. You used to act at school?
Oh, yeah. I was in the nativity play. Yeah, played the landlord. Yeah. Should have seen me. There was little Del boy, strutting about. And then there was a knock at the door, So when I answered the door, I said, I'm sorry, there's no room at the inn. And then old Joseph, he persuaded me to let him kip in the stable. I tried to charge him 1 6 for the night. I got the cane for that.
I find this story so wholesome, honestly, because we know and love Del's character so much at this point that it's actually really lovely to hear a story like this from when he was little.
Yeah.
That isn't sad. Because a lot of the stories from Del's history and Del's past that we hear are sort of full of sadness, or my dad left or my mom died, kind of stories. And this is actually a really lovely little story. I mean, he says he got the cane, but Del did seem to find that quite funny. So
yeah, and I love the way that Albert smiles and listens to this story and really gets into it. Same with his acting later. The way that Albert is so encouraging for everything Del does.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, he's like a proud grandfather, isn't he, in this scene? Yeah.
Yeah.
So Del sees Rodney outside the front door about to let himself in, and he insists that Rodney ring the doorbell. But seriously, imagine how intrusive that sound would be. I remember we had a doorbell that went ding, 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 because it's in some of our old home movies, and that was annoying enough.
Yeah, I think that those ones that are amplified digitally can be very kind of super loud when you're nearby. I know the whole point is that they're supposed to echo through the whole house, but they're very loud when you're in the actual entryway, and that reminds me of this.
Yes.
The way that the end part's yeah,
it's like the old broken Christmas lights that play Christmas music. So Raquel, Albert and Rodney are all horrified by the sound of the doorbell, but Del loves it. So now we have the continuation of Rodney's marital problems. Del tells Rodney that he went round to his flat and Cassandra said that she still loves him very, very deeply. I'm sure that sounds like something she'd say. And she has asked Del to ask Rodney to meet her in a restaurant. And I do think it's quite a good plan, actually, of Del's to get them talking to each other again, because he can see how petty they are both being, and obviously they're not going to sort it out on their own. Mm-hmm. So Rodney agrees to go purely because he thinks it was Cassandra's idea, and clearly she does the same. So Del actually almost slips up here and says that he booked the table, and then he changes it to she booked the table.
Yes.
So Rodney thanks Del and wonders what he should do when he sees her.
I feel sort of nervous.
Nervous? What you could be nervous about? She's your wife.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll just be myself, eh?
No, try to make an impression, Rodney.
So we find out that Del is going down the Nag's Head because Mike and Trigger want to buy his musical doorbells.
Would you want me to drop it off at the pub on my way out?
No, I got to go, Rodney. I mean, I got to go because at the moment, Mike and Trigger don't know they want to buy one of my musical doorbells.
So Del tells Rodney that he's going to help Raquel rehearse a play later, which Rodney gets very excited about and wishes that he could watch. And I'm glad that we get to see a little bit of Del rehearsing the play. That's nice that we actually get to see something that's mentioned. And the scene ends with a very mild joke, I wrote, of Del explaining how much time an actress of Raquel's caliber needs to get into character. And then it turns out that the real reason she can't rehearse now is because she's only just started cooking his dinner. So, any notes on that scene, dude?
Yeah, just a couple of little things. So the bit, just to mention the dinner where Raquel's like, Del doesn't like fried foods. And then she's like, I'm sorry, it'll have to be egg and bacon. I know it's like a joke, but it's obviously very fake seeming. Because in the last episode, we saw Raquel totally read over all of Del trying to pretend he didn't like the food. And it's just like, you've got some egg on your chin.
Yes.
And now she's all like, Del doesn't like it. Like, that, to me, doesn't seem like Raquel's character at all. So she was just told
Yes.
to. Yeah.
She's like that in the later scene as well. You probably know the one I'm talking about. So, yeah, it's almost like, yeah, her character seems completely abandoned in certain parts of this episode that we've known as her character so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's done for the joke, obviously, that the woman's like, well, I'm sorry, you're going to have egg and bacon. Like,
yeah.
It's unrealistic. Let's put it this way. Like, my husband and I love junk food, but we're also aware that we want to be healthy most of the time. So I would never be like, I'm sorry, we're going to have, like a fry up right now. I would never be like that. I'd be like, well, yay, we get to have a fry up, but let's try and have something healthy tomorrow. That's realistic.
Yeah, agreed.
The way that she turns around and she's like, I'm sorry, it'll have to be egg and bacon. Like literally a week ago, Del had egg on his chin. we know
so true.
He loves the food. There's no point pretending you don't like it.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. It's the way the character's written. It's meant to be for a joke, but it feels like she's being shortchanged a little bit here with character development.
I think that's the problem, though, isn't it? You should never sacrifice the character for the sake of the joke.
Yeah.
I think that's like a golden rule of writing.
Or the sake of a storyline, which is what they do in like soaps all the time, which we hate.
Oh, and what they do in Friends for the last 3 series of Friends, they just completely change the characters to whatever they need them to be.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of people who watch shows appreciate that things are done just for the humor of it in the second, but they also don't like it when a character derails just for the sake of one storyline or one gag.
Yeah, I don't
want to go on about this forever, but yeah, this bit to me is a little bit grating.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Because I don't like the way that she suddenly changes. And then if she has to learn the whole scene by tomorrow, I think Del can cook his own dinner, right?
Yeah.
That was what I wrote. She's like, oh no, I'm panicked. I've got this audition tomorrow. Okay, what do you want for dinner, Del? I think he can cook his own dinner.
Yeah, so true.
But then Raquel has been put in as the housekeeper. So even though she's working on his career, he's working on his job and she's working on her career, she still has to cook because she's the woman, right?
Well, actually, I don't know if this is a good thing to mention at this point because it's kind of later, but this is one hell of a long evening. Because Raquel and Del are here, they're having dinner. Del goes down the Nag's Head. Raquel and Albert apparently go down the Nag's Head later, which is why Rodney has to go out with Trudy and take her outside. Rodney has dinner with Cassandra, and also they come back to the flat and are rehearsing again.
Yeah.
It all seems like a lot happens in such a short period of time.
Yeah, and a lot of these episodes do take place in what we're led to believe is one night, which we talked about with Yuppie Love.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter that much. It's just, working out the timings. Let's say this is dinner time, so 5 o'clock? Then they maybe go down the pub from like 7 until 9, and then they rehearse when they get home. That's quite believable, right?
It does seem a bit unbelievable that Raquel would go down the pub.
Yeah, but she does in these first few episodes. She goes down the pub in series 7.
No, I don't mean just going down the pub. I mean because she's got the audition tomorrow. Like, why would she go down the pub when she's got the scene to learn? She'd have stayed in the flat.
Yeah.
Obviously, we don't see her come down the pub. That's just Rodney saying, oh, I just saw Raquel and Alma getting off the bus.
Yeah, she gets on the bleeding bus.
Yeah, exactly.
Why do they get on the bus as well? Isn't the Nag's Head like walking distance?
Yeah, that's what I mean. That whole thing is a bit weird.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's just because she's got there's no way, that she would have gone down the pub when she had the scene tomorrow. We see how panicked she is later, in the part where she's learning it. So
well,
it's a bit of a plot hole.
And then tomorrow, is the audition.
Yeah.
And then she's pregnant by the next evening. Yeah, I know. The whole thing is very quick, but yeah. It's best not to think about these things and just enjoy yourself.
Just enjoy yourself.
And my final note is that I love Del's big label on his toolbox that says Del in the big tape. It's really funny. Did you notice that?
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, he's taped Del onto the toolbox with tape. It's quite cool. Yeah. That was it for that scene.
Okay, cool. So now we are in the Nag's Head, the first scene in the Nag's Head of the evening. Del is playing the doorbell sound to Mike and Trigger at the bar, but arguably he's playing it to the rest of the pub because these doorbells are very loud. So everyone in the pub would have been very distracted by this. Although no one else is really noticing it or acting like they notice it. I actually feel like the doorbell chime is meant to be funnier than it actually came across. I mean, I know you said you find it very funny, but Del playing this, it goes on for quite some time, actually. And if you listen to the laughter of the audience, it starts off with them laughing their heads off, and then they kind of fizzles out before the doorbell stops playing.
I think, I forgot to mention this in the last scene, actually. And we forgot the running joke of Del getting all the anthems wrong as well. He says, Viva France after the American national anthem. He doesn't say anything about after this one, right? This is the German national anthem. And I agree that it plays for 2 bars of this exact same. They maybe only needed 1.
Yeah.
And it says in the script that Del loves the music. So he's supposed to be holding it up and listening to it.
Yeah.
Which he does convey.
He does.
But they probably didn't need to play it twice here, but it doesn't really matter. But you're right. I don't think it's as funny in the pub as it is when it rings on the doors.
No, I mean, I mentioned this again later when we hear it for a 3rd time and a 4th time, because we actually have 4 musical doorbell jokes in this whole episode, which is probably why you remember that about the episode.
Right.
But I think, obviously, the more you do something, the more it loses its impact, and its comedic impact goes away as the episode goes on, in my opinion. So, yeah, I think it's a bit overused. So Del mentions that there will be no more of that Avon calling cobblers, and of course, that made me think of you, dude, because you were an Avon calling cobbler at one point.
I did very briefly do Avon at one point. I can't remember how old I was. Was it before I got my first job? I think it was.
I think I would have been about 13 or 14 years old when you were doing it, so you'd have been 16.
I was doing it at the same time I worked at Holland and Barrett, because I remember selling it to the people I worked with there as well. Yeah. I didn't do it for very long, but when I think back to it, it sucks because
it's so much work.
You're very pushy and you have to go door to door and you have to knock on the door and you drop off the catalogue, and then later you have to knock and ask for your catalogue back because you pay for the catalogue. I don't know if any of this is true anymore.
Yeah.
Because this is a very old-fashioned way to sell. But there were people who immediately were like, oh my God, yay, we've got a new Avon rep. And they would place massive orders. And then there were people who would literally come out of their door right after I posted it and yell at me and be like, don't you put this crap through my door.
Yeah.
And I was a very sensitive, shy young girl. So I was very upset by this. So I should never have done Avon. I don't know what I was thinking.
I mean, I have very fond memories around Christmas time of us doing it, because I remember going out in the cold and walking around with you. And I remember wearing my Frosted Berries hat, which I bought from Avon because you worked there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I never bought Avon before or since. It was only because you worked there.
I didn't work there. It's not a place.
No, you worked as an Avon lady, yes.
You're an Avon rep, basically. So you buy catalogues and then you place the orders and then you get a percentage of what you sell. It really sucks. All that ends up happening is you end up ordering all the stuff for yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, that's all that ends up happening.
So as usual, Mike is not interested. I'm not interested in buying the musical doorbell.
They are cheap and tacky.
I've got one on my front door.
You most probably have. You need a brain bypass to have one of them things fitted.
How much you selling them for, Del?
Of course, Trigger is interested. I do wonder sometimes if Trigger buys all the stuff from Del just to support his friend. Like, I feel like if I had a friend like this that was always kind of selling stuff and like living life on the edge with money, I think I'd probably buy some of their crap just to support them as well. I mean, like Avon. I bought Avon crap from you a lot.
Yeah, but you guys, I mean, it's toiletries. You used it. But like, I think Trigger really does like a lot of the stuff. I think that's supposed to show that he has the same taste as Del, because Del thinks these are cool. He's got one on his door. So it's supposed to show that him and Trigger like the same stuff. Yeah. And the joke is that Mike always doesn't want stuff but ends up with it anyway. Yes. Right? So
I think in this case he really doesn't end up with the doorbell, but yes.
Not that we find out.
I just thought, that might be another indication that Trigger is like a really good friend who always supports his friend, you know.
Yeah.
So Trigger buys one with Mike looking bewildered, and then we hear a loud cackle from the other side of the pub. Mike explains that the two blokes sitting with the woman who just cackled have been plying her with drinks all evening, and now they're getting fed up. And at that moment, one of the guys comes over to the bar.
Would you call her a cab?
Yeah, something like that.
No. Would you phone for a minicab? The lady wants to go to Battersea.
Oh, yeah. You leave that to me, mate. You see, I've got an understanding with British Telecom. I make a phone call and they charge me for it.
I'm sorry, I apologise for him, sir. It's his religion. He's an orthodox tight-ass.
So another thing of the past, needing to use a landline to make phone calls, because now those guys would just get an Uber for the lady. So now we get a conversation with Trigger and Del at the bar, and we find out that Trigger has a sister, and it was her 42nd birthday. So actually we do know that Trigger has a sister, because we know about Lisa, but...
Yeah.
Wait a minute, hang on. Your sister's 5 years younger than you. That'd make her 39.
I know. But she's a typical woman. She lies about her age.
Okay, so based on what Del just said, that means that Trigger is meant to be 44 years old. And that means that Del is meant to be 44 years old, since they're in the same year at school. So, I'm sorry, I'm calling bullshit on this. I think David Jason was like 50 or 51 when this episode was filmed.
This is 1991.
Yeah, so I think David Jason was 51.
Yeah, I mean, he's not 44 here. I don't think. I mean, he's not.
Exactly.
What I mean is, I don't think Del Boy is supposed to be 44. That's a good point, because I didn't put this age reference into my spreadsheet. But Del, by this time, we should have worked this out. We'll have to do this for the series wrap. How old Del's supposed to be by now? This would be the only reference probably to that. And he's supposed to be 44, because when Raquel met Del, she was supposed to only be 30. And how much time is supposed to have passed? How old is she supposed to be now? Like 33?
Something like that.
Del was supposed to be 44 in dates, I think. So
yeah,
Del looks a lot older already than he did just a few years ago.
Yes.
In this particular time. Let's see, when was David Jason born? 1945?
1940, I think.
Oh, he was, 1940. He's 86. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't look 44.
No. So Del tells Trigger about Raquel auditioning for a play, and I'm quite surprised here, because Trigger is actually the one who puts the idea in Del's head that Raquel might change if she gets famous or spends like too much time with other actors and directors.
Yeah, I noted that.
And of all the side characters, I'm surprised it was Trigger that ended up doing this.
Yeah, it's actually silly if you think about it, isn't it? Because Del runs with this idea later in the same way that Mickey was the one that placed the idea that Cassandra would be upset that he lived on the near area estate.
Yes.
Why would these guys take advice from what's arguably their dumbest friends?
Yeah. But also Trigger, like, this is a pretty out of character for him to be like so negative about something immediately.
It is, but he's just basing it off his own experiences, isn't he?
So we then see that Marlene is in the pub. We didn't see her a minute ago, but there she is in a very loud outfit. Kind of reminds me of the dresses that Del was selling in Sickness and Wealth.
She always wears a loud outfit, though. That's her character.
No, but this is awful, dude. I mean, this is like neon pink with big flowers all over it. It's terrible. So we don't know who these two people are that she's talking to, but Del goes over and pinches her bum and they quickly leave. Then we see Boise approaching in the background.
Good evening, Derek.
Yeah, just saying hello to Marlene.
Yes, I noticed you approaching my wife and shaking her warmly by the Harris.
So Del offers to buy them a drink, and Boise asks for a large cognac, but then Del orders a small one. And then Boise gives an indication to Mike to top it up. And actually, I like little things like this that happen in the background that are very sort of in keeping with the characters.
Yeah.
So Del, Trigger, Boise and Marlene all sit down at a table and start looking at baby photos of Tyler.
Yes, he's got my eyes, hasn't he?
Now his eyes are all warm and smiley.
So are mine.
My mum always said you had vampire eyes.
Yeah, well, she should know, the old bat.
That's quite a clever line. So Mike brings the drinks over, and Del starts listing all the ways that Tyler is similar to everybody but Boise.
Yeah.
Again, planting the idea that all of them could be the father rather than Boise. So Marlene changes the subject to Rodney asking how he is, and Del tells them that Rodney is taking Cassandra out to try and patch things up. So then Tyler begins to cry, and Marlene decides to go over to him. He's in the corner of the pub on his own. Like, it's crazy to me that you would leave a baby across the room in a pub where, like, everyone is smoking. I just... That wouldn't happen today, I'd imagine. But I guess it was quite common, maybe back then. I don't know.
I don't know. What I think is strange is that they're all sitting far away from Tyler looking at photos of him when he's in the pub.
That's true. Could just look at him, couldn't
they? He's right there.
Yeah, it's weird that it's true. They like parked him over the other side of the room, but I think they had to do that to get Marlene out the way, didn't they, in that part of the scene? So
yeah.
Again, sacrificing character for plot and jokes. So we find out that Marlene has bought a doorbell off Del from Boise, but he doesn't know that it's from Del. So Boise confirms here that he does live on the King's Avenue. And I'm not sure we had confirmation of that before. I know we mentioned that we think he does, but he actually confirms it here that he lives on King's Avenue.
Yes. I think it's said in a previous episode that he lives on King's Avenue.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it wasn't said. I thought we just assumed that he did after Yuppie Love, but...
I think it's said before, but I can't remember when, so I can't back that up.
That's okay. It doesn't matter. But yeah, it's confirmed anyway here. So Del implies that Marlene was sleeping with the milkman. It's an old one, but a classic. The old uns are the best uns, Rodney.
Yeah.
So Marlene comes over and says that she's leaving, and she tells Tyler to wave goodbye to your daddy, at which point Boise, Del, Mike and Trigger all wave at Tyler. So quite a funny note to end the scene on. Any notes, dude?
Yeah, I got quite a lot of notes here. I wonder if I've said any of them. Let's see. I did say about the German national anthem. So the script describes Trudy as a 38-year-old peroxide blonde woman. That's just a description at the beginning of this scene. I know Trudy doesn't really come into it until the next scene, so I left my notes about her in the next scene. Mm-hmm. The man who says, "Would you call her a cab?" was played by Ian Barrett, and there is an interview with him in one of the event programs that Mike Jones kindly sent to us. And he mentions in this interview that he worked on 2 other shows with David Josen following this, and that would be The Darling Buds of May and A Touch of Frost. I also found it interesting to learn from this interview some information about which studio scenes were shot with the audience and which weren't. Now, this scene was a non-audience day.
Oh, that is interesting.
Which Ian said was a shame, since he enjoyed working with an audience, as he has in other appearances, such as the Russ Abbott show. He's comfortable working in front of an audience. We've talked about this a bunch of times. We don't know which scenes were filmed in front of audiences and which weren't. Sometimes we use the fact that the dialogue is drowned out by the laughter to assume that which ones are which. But actually, and we'll come on to this next week, I just read in an interview with the actor that plays Tony Angelino that they were told when they're shooting without an audience to leave space where the audience will laugh.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense, except for the fact that if you look back at older episodes, they didn't do that in every case. Like we'll talk specifically here about the Little Problems scene with the Driscoll brothers. A lot of the dialogue in that scene is drowned out by laughter. That was filmed on a non-studio audience day, and they...
Yeah.
But then I think it's hard to say what people are going to laugh at.
Yeah, that's true. That's why I think you do have some awkward pauses in episodes like Miami Twice and To Hull and Back, because there's no audience laughter and they still leave pauses, because I think it's natural to do that when you do a comedy show.
Well, yes. But then also, because we had Miami Twice, I'm just thinking of Miami Twice Part 2 specifically here, none of which was filmed in front of a studio audience. Those laughter tracks that are put on afterwards drown out a lot of the dialogue. Whether it was meant to be funny or not, they drown out a ton of dialogue, especially in the scenes with Donizetti and the family in the villa.
Yes, they do.
In the case of what seems like a studio shoot, because it's actually in the studio. So this is the Nag's Head studio set without the audience.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say. Like, a lot of jokes in Only Fools and Horses get a huge laugh, and sometimes things that we think are funny that are written to be a joke don't get a laugh.
Yeah.
How are they supposed to know where they're supposed to leave a joke, a space?
Yeah, you couldn't
This
know.
scene I never thought screamed to me non-audience day. There's no like obvious signs that it wasn't. So this interview is the only evidence I have that this was a non-audience day.
Yeah, I wouldn't have known either unless you just said.
Yeah, we've talked loads of times about this moment where it's hinted that Tyler's father is not Boise. This is the scene where it came back. Yeah, so there's been references to it over the years, but obviously, yeah, Del pointing out all the different features of Tyler that could apply to the different men. Yeah, it's all just a joke.
I mean, she even includes Rodney in that list. I mean, in what universe do we think Rodney and Marlene slept together?
Yeah, I think it's very funny, and the whole joke is supposed to just be at the expense of Boise's character, which again goes back to all the infertility jokes are supposed to. This is another infertility joke.
Yeah.
It's all supposed to just be jabs at Boise.
Yes.
It's not meant to be offensive to anybody. It's not meant to be about whether Marlene cheated. It's just all meant to be that Boise was infertile and Tyler can't be his. And that's the gag.
Agreed.
A little note about what Del says about I miss him like George Michael misses Andrew Ridgeley. That is a joke about Wham, because obviously those were the two members of the pop duo Wham. And when they broke up in 1986, George Michael had a very successful career and Andrew Ridgeley not so much. And there is a cut part of the script here. Again, seems to be a few times that happened in this episode. In this case, Boise makes a speech about how he feels about being a father, and Del comments. And I think that this was cut so that the audience is maybe more blindsided at the end with the revelation of Raquel's pregnancy, perhaps. I'll just read what it says in the script. So Boise says, "Yeah, and she's ruining that boy of mine, spoiling him rotten. We've got the most expensive nanny in the world, 300 quid a time creche, and Marlene's just put in a takeover bid for Toys R Us. On the other hand, having a baby has changed my life. I used to be so happy. Now I'm up half the night stuffing Bonjela in his mouth. And I'm too tired to sell me cars. And I ain't been to the Masonic Lodge for a month. You don't know how lucky you are." And then Del says, "Not luck, Boise. It's called shrewdness. Never again. That's my motto. I had all that I don't know what this word is supposed to be. Pharex and Ostermilk, Clark." I guess this is to do with raising a child. Pharex, I don't know what that is. Ostermilk sounds like something you give for a baby.
No.
"I had all that Pharex and Ostermilk lark years ago when Rodney was a sprog. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, though I used to say a little prayer for you and Marlene." So all that's cut out, and I'm guessing it's because we want to believe that Del is really happy when he hears he's having a baby.
Yeah, I was going to say that completely contradicts his reaction at the end of the episode if they'd left that in.
It does, but it also backs up the little moment of fake anger that goes away quite quickly. Because I think it is meant to believe that Del is angry that he finds out he's having a baby. This would back that up a little bit more. It kind of comes out of nowhere, the idea that he's angry.
True. I mean, I must admit, though, I think most people that haven't had children, and I can speak from this perspective, are like, oh, so great, like, no kids. But then once you've had them, most people would be like, oh, I wouldn't change it for the world. I mean, not everybody, but most people say that from what I've seen.
I think that's exactly true. I think once you've had a kid, you would never imagine life without them, and you love them more than anything, and you probably experience a type of love that you couldn't have known before.
Yeah.
But if you don't have them, you'll never know what it's like to have the freedom of not having them. So it's like, it's either way. Yeah, I don't have children either, and I'm not going to have children. But from the perspective of people who do have children, there's no way they would ever regret it. At least not most people. Most people don't regret it.
Well, I think you also aren't really allowed to regret it. Like, you're certainly not allowed to openly regret it. Like, you can regret it privately, but you can't sit there being like, man, I wish I'd never had them, they're awful.
Yeah, that's true. Most people wouldn't say it. So maybe the actual numbers of people that do regret it are higher, but you wouldn't get the actual statistic.
Yeah, maybe.
But then it's easy enough to say that from both sides. Like,
yeah.
I'm happy I didn't have children, but there's got to be times when I would think, oh, it'd be nice to have had a family. Yeah, like, it's both ways.
Well, it's interesting, like, with me, you and Fran, like, we're literally the three different sort of brackets of family life. Like, Fran's got like a big family with like 3 kids, and then you've got the husband but no kids, and then I'm completely on my own with 2 cats. So
right. Yeah, that was actually all I had for that scene.
So now we go to a floating restaurant, and we know it's a Rodney and Cassandra scene because the establishing shot is playing what I like to call Cassandra music. So Jenny mentioned in the intro about this music being the same artist as the woman who sang the song in Rodney Come Home. So I guess there is this kind of style of music that John Sullivan chooses for the Cassandra and Rodney scenes. So again, I don't know what you'd call this genre of music, but it's the same type of music every time there's a Rodney and Cassandra scene. So yeah, if anyone wants to sort of chime in about what this style of music is called, please feel free to do that in the comments.
Just to state specifically, this was John Sullivan's request, this song specifically. So it's quite possible that he was just a big fan of this artist and wanted to include as much music as possible. It's also, you know, love song style stuff, which fits the relationship.
Yeah, it's not just love song though. It's something about this music that I'm like, oh, even if I hear it on the radio, I'd be like, oh, that reminds me of Rodney and Cassandra, you know, kind of thing. It's that style. Again, I can't think what it is. So the restaurant looks very posh and Rodney is sitting at the table waiting for Cassandra. Cassandra walks in and she is wearing the biggest shoulder pads I have ever seen in my life. Like, this
is style of the time.
It's ridiculous. I know, but it's like, seriously, those are massive shoulders. So she sits down at the table and begins with some small talk. So Cassandra's looking very tanned because she's been to Spain. So that's a bit of continuity there, which is good. And this is what you touched on earlier, dude. I said the events of The Sky's the Limit are not mentioned here. So we don't know if Cassandra did think Rodney was having an affair with another woman in a hotel room. And we don't know if Alan told her in time. So that wasn't the case. I mean, we don't know anything about what happened and how that situation panned out.
Yeah, exactly. And The Sky's the Limit is like a real sitcom episode. It has absolutely no implications for any of the other episodes. It just gets forgotten completely.
Yeah.
And like you say, yeah, at the end of The Sky's the Limit, they were panicking that Cassandra was going to think Rodney went queso with some tart.
Yeah.
She never mentions that. She only refers to Tanya.
Yeah, exactly. I completely agree. So yeah, we don't know what happened. So Cassandra does know something, though, about Rodney's behaviour of late.
Do you want a glass of something?
I have the same as you.
Well, it's mineral water.
Oh, that makes a nice change. I heard you'd been drinking heavily.
Heavily. Silly.
So they put the waiter in the middle of the situation to probably add a bit of comedy, but it still falls quite flat to me, to be honest. I think because the waiter's expressions are all kind of similar for the three jokes that he's brought in to facilitate. That's probably why. Do you have any information about who played the waiter, dude? I mean, he doesn't have any lines, so I don't know.
Actually don't.
Yeah, that's not surprising. He doesn't have any lines, so it's maybe not something that's even really mentioned.
Yeah, I think maybe it would have been funnier to have a more animated kind of expression, or like a waiter that was similar to like the guy in Sky's the Limit, the hotel manager, who's maybe like pulling a face. I guess this guy just kind of roll his eyes a little bit or like look awkward.
He doesn't really. He's quite expressionless. I think obviously people who've seen Frasier will know what I'm talking about. The episode in Frasier where Lilith sleeps with Niles and the waiter keeps coming into the hotel room. Like that guy is hilarious. Like that kind of waiter who's got a few lines of dialogue that can sort of still react to what's going on in a judgmental way. I think that would have been better. But sorry to throw shade at the guy who played the waiter. I didn't mean to judge your acting skills.
It's nothing against this guy. I just probably don't think he was really told to do much or have expressions, but maybe a line or two make the scene a bit more lively, although it is supposed to be romantic and, you know, low light and stuff. So
yeah, true. We find out that it was Dell who told Cassandra that Rodney had been drinking heavily, but Rodney presumed that it was her dad.
Yeah, again.
Yeah, this is what I mean. Alan really isn't taking sides, like, or stirring anything between Rodney and Cassandra.
No.
And I guess that suits his mature character, because he always feels like the adult in the room, like even when Dell is around. So yeah, it's weird they always go to Alan. They do it again later in the scene, in the episode.
They do it always. Yeah, we said this last week.
Yeah, they do. That's what I mean. There was like, Alan's going to do this. And it's like, Alan never does anything.
Alan will be fuming. Alan will fire me. Like, he would never do any of those things.
They also assume many times that Cassandra tells her dad everything. And it's clear by this point that she doesn't. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
So it doesn't take long for them to start bickering, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, maybe I did go a bit overboard, you know, when we left each other.
You mean when you left me?
Same thing.
No, it isn't. I didn't go anywhere, Roddy. I was at the flat waiting for you. You just didn't come home.
This is a bit confusing. So we've seen Rodney get kicked out of the flat by Cassandra the last time we were at the flat, which was, of course, in Rodney Come Home. And then Cassandra is implying that she was waiting for Rodney to come home after her kicking him out because of Tanya. Like, what? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, they haven't talked about Tanya yet.
Yeah.
Or maybe they have, but they're readdressing it here. So you're right. She threw him out. She wasn't waiting for him to come home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. And if he tried to get back in, which he did in that episode, she was like, get out. Like, exactly. It doesn't make any sense that she's saying she was just sitting there waiting for him to come home. She didn't want him to come home.
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So amazingly, Rodney is trying to keep things from descending into immaturity here. And Cassandra seems to be the one trying her best to make sure that they do, especially when she says, you started it. So we find out that Rodney did come home while she was on holiday and that she had changed the locks. So another indication she didn't want him to come home. She changed the fucking locks.
Right.
Without telling him. So Rodney had to kick the door in. And this is where we come back to the beginning of the episode where Del went round to fix the door. And obviously we would have found out earlier if that scene you mentioned earlier had been kept in. But again, honestly, all of this just feels very tiresome. Again.
Yeah, I know you hate all the Rodney and Cassandra stuff.
Yeah, it's exhausting. It just keeps going round in a big circle. So the waiter comes back over with the mineral water just as Cassandra says that Rodney kicked the front door in. Again, trying to sort of include the waiter and make him shocked at Rodney. But again, he's expressionless, so it doesn't really do the job. And I suppose Rodney could only resist for so long before mentioning the bank.
Look, I've got just as much right to enter that flat as you, Cassandra. We have got a joint mortgage, remember, from the bank.
Bank.
Oh, the fucking bank. So then Cassandra does bring up the events of Rodney come home, asking about that girl that Rodney took out. And actually, I can understand her being upset that Rodney asked another girl to go out with him, even if he didn't take her out in the end. I think we'd all be upset about that.
Yeah.
But at this point, I just think all of us don't really give a fuck because this has just been dragged out for too long. Like, I know I don't give a fuck at this point. I'm just like, oh,
yeah.
already.
I wonder if this is this whole first 3 episodes, Rodney come home, the sky's the limit, and the chance of a lunchtime, this whole plot got messed up by Rodney come home being stretched out at the request of the BBC.
Yeah.
I know we talked about this in Rodney come home, but he'd originally written the whole series with Rodney come home as a normal episode. So this could be all a fault of the BBC, really, for making Rodney come home get stretched out, and then the story doesn't really slot into place again properly after that.
Yeah, that's probably true. So they continue to trade insults and barbs, and then things do take, I guess, a more interesting turn.
I'm glad I found out this early on in our marriage what you're really like. Your drinking, your bouts of violence. God, I can just imagine my future with someone like you. You really are the silliest, pettiest, most childish person I ever had the misfortune to marry.
You fancy me, don't you?
No, I don't.
Yes, you do. You little flirt, you.
And this just strengthens what we already know, and that is that their problems are unbelievably shallow. Like, just a little smile and a well-placed joke, and they're willing to go to bed together. Like, that's how easy it was to fix. And I must admit, though, I do like the exchange there. I like that it's more like flirting. It kind of reminds me of their exchanges in Series 6 a little bit more.
Yeah.
So, yeah, nice to get a little bit of a break from all the bickering. And I actually really love the way that Gwen the Strong says, no, I don't.
Yeah, I think this is nice because it makes us, the audience, think maybe all this is over.
Yeah, I know. And then they take it away from us just a couple of scenes later. Oh, in the next scene, actually. So Rodney and Cassandra find out that Del set them up. And he was the one that told them both that the other one was the one who wanted to make the first move and booked the table at the restaurant.
Right.
So they both seem quite happy with this outcome because obviously it did end up working out for both of them.
So now what do we do?
I don't know. Fancy showing me your 10?
So I think this is a scene you can probably tell wasn't done in front of a live audience, mainly because the location, but also some of the lines are a bit drowned out by the laughter in the scene as well.
Well, yeah, this was a location shoot. There was no audience.
So Cassandra gives Rodney the new key to the flat and says that she will meet him there shortly because she has to go round to her mum and dad's first. How convenient. Which leaves Rodney time to go to the Nag's Head to tell Del what happened.
Well, I'll see you in bed in about half an hour.
They both leave the restaurant, but Rodney is strutting out of there. Real swagger he's got in his walk when he leaves. So any notes on that scene, dude?
Yeah, so this was filmed, this is obviously an actual restaurant. It was filmed on the evening of Monday, the 15th of October, 1990 at the Bristol Docks. And this floating restaurant is called Shoots, and it's on Cannons Road. So we already mentioned the song. I actually think the restaurant looks really nice. Like, it's a really beautiful setting and it's very romantic. So it's a pity they didn't have a nice dinner while they were there.
Yeah, I said it looks very posh.
So in my notes here, I wrote that we learn here why he kicked the door down. But actually, there's some more cut lines here. And the cut lines probably should have been left in here because they actually do give us a bit more of an explanation. So right after Cassandra says, "I hate you," she's supposed to say, "Oh, shut up." And then Rodney says, "What I meant by surprising you was I wanted to be in our flat when you got back, not just to say welcome back, but to be living there. And that's when I got angry when I couldn't get in. Why did you change the locks on the front door?" And then she says, "Because you walked out." And he says, "I know, I only went to post a letter." And then they both laugh. So it's another like tension breaking line here. But again, we should have left it in because we'd have learned a bit more about why he kicked the door down. But why he kicked the door down again doesn't make sense because our last knowledge is that he was thrown out at the end of Rodney Come Home. So she wasn't sitting waiting for him to come home unless more took place off screen and he was supposed to just come home and the sky's the limit.
Well, also, she was coming home in the sky's the limit and he was trying to meet her in a hotel room, not wait for her at the flats to be living there. Like, is that when that bit was supposed to happen?
Well, this is supposed to, have taken place after the sky's the limit. So after he didn't get to pick her up, he was going to go round and be at the flat, right? Because when she got back from the trip. So was this supposed to happen immediately after?
I guess
because she
so.
wasn't back right away, right? Because Alan was picking her up from Manchester.
Yeah, she was in Manchester. She was stranded there. So maybe it took her half a day at the most to get home. So Rodney was worried she'd think that he was in a room with another woman. Then he went round to her house and kicked the door in.
Well, he went round because he wanted to move back in so he could just be home, right?
Yeah.
So he's going to apologise and everything. So, but then that doesn't make sense either because how would she have changed the lock? She was on holiday.
Yeah. So she changed the locks before she went to Spain then?
No, yeah, but I think it's supposed to be implied that she was angry and changed the locks because he left.
Yeah, this doesn't make any
There's
sense.
no point trying to fit it together because it doesn't make sense.
Pick
And
the bones out of that one,
unfortunately,
darling.
yeah, this actually goes along with what you said about how you feel a lot of the Cassandra and Rodney stuff was very shallow. There wasn't even really a timeline of what happened that you can make sense out of.
No.
It's basically just the fact that they're fighting and they're both too stubborn to talk. But all of this stuff doesn't really make super amount of sense. So
No, it doesn't.
So I suppose we'll stop analysing it now. But yeah, I just wanted to throw in that little extra bit that was cut out because that was supposed to explain why he kicked the door in. Because I don't think without that line, we just don't really know why.
Yeah, we really don't know why he kicked the door in. It is a very weird thing to do. And yeah, without any explanation, it's like, that's quite a violent thing to do as well. I can't imagine Rodney doing something like that, to be honest.
Yeah, why would you kick the door in of your own flat?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Okay, that's it. No more discussions of the door.
I can't absolutely guarantee that because I can't remember what I wrote later in my notes, but yeah.
All right, that's all I have for that scene.
Okay, cool. So now we are back in the Nag's Head. And Del is putting a lot of ketchup on a hot dog. We hear the same woman cackling from across the pub, yes. So she isn't in her minicab yet. Del says,
Disgusting, isn't it? It's disgusting. I like a lady to be a lady, you know what I mean? I can't stand a woman being drunk, staggering around a pub, dropping her crisps all over the place, you know what I mean?
I remember your mum.
So I know Trigger here recovers from that and says that Del's mom was a lady and that's why he mentioned it. But actually from everything that we've heard about her from other people, it actually sounds like Del was describing her in that moment.
Yeah.
I just think of Boise standing in the corner of a pub with two geezers.
Yeah, and in some past episode I mentioned that before Rock and Chips, I always kind of pictured Joan as Trudy because of this moment.
Yes.
I think we always led to believe that she was like a peroxide blonde, as John Sullivan described Trudy, but also that she liked to go down the pub and get drunk. And it's not that she doesn't look a little bit like the Trudy character of Rock and Chips.
Yeah.
She does. She's a blonde woman with like curly blonde hair like this.
And to be fair, the only line that we hear from Joan in Time on Our Hands sounds a lot like Trudy. Del boy, you gotta get up, it's time for school. Like,
yes,
sounds
the
like
accent
Trudy.
is a lot more like Trudy. Exactly, and she doesn't sound like that in Rock and Chips. So yeah, I think the decision was made, when Rock and Chips was made, to make her a likable, relatable character and not like this. Because I think the whole show would have fallen flat if she was just like a drunk, like Trudy, staggering around, dropping her crisps all over the place. I think it would have not been very good. Yeah. I think the development of the character of Joan is what makes Rock and Chips good, because she's a sympathetic character. If she was just Trudy, she wouldn't be.
You do have to have some sympathy for her character to make it work. I agree with you. She couldn't be just a sort of one-dimensional, typical drunk sort of older lady, a bit of a lush, you know?
No, I think that would have made it kind of boring and predictable show. So
yeah, I agree. So Del continues.
Look at the state of that. I wouldn't be seen dead with that, let alone admit knowing it. Oh, dear.
So we find out that Del and Trudy were engaged to each other. And I'm surprised that Trigger actually didn't recognize her, because he always seems to know and like recognize Del's exes. Like Trigger seems to know a lot about Del's history with women.
Well, actually, yeah, I could throw this note in here then. So the script had a little bit where Trigger says he doesn't remember her as one of Del's fiancées. And then Del gives us more context. He says that it was in 1970 and they were engaged for a month. And then Trigger comments that must be one of your longer engagements then. And Del says they broke up because Rodney's pet mouse nested in one of her wigs, and the last time he saw her was on a caravan site in Sheerness. In the middle of the night, the caravan was struck by lightning and she went running out into the rain, no drawers and a polo neck jumper. He then says, I've gone right off that hot dog, Mike. So that line was supposed to be in there. So yeah, it does make sense that Trigger would remember her, because later they're all naming her fiancés, and Trigger was around in the 70s when Del would have been getting engaged. So
Yeah.
But they just decided not to leave that in.
Yeah, I did think that was a bit of a weird thing that Trigger didn't recognize her.
Yeah.
But though Del does say that she's changed a lot, so I suppose it's possible that
That's true, yeah.
she has.
Del would be the one you would expect to recognize her more than Trigger if he was
True.
engaged to her.
Yeah, true. I mean, me personally, I don't think Trudy's unattractive. I think she's just a bit loud.
It's the way she's acting that they're kind of commenting on more than anything else, right? They're not saying she's like ugly or anything.
I don't know. I mean, like, look at the state of that. It can be taken, you know, many different ways, I suppose. The state of that can be referring to her appearance as well as her actions.
It could be, yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with her appearance.
No, I don't. So Rodney comes running into the pub and he says that he and Cassandra have made it up. And of course, Del is very happy. So just to be clear, the fact that Rodney and Cassandra are going to have sex now means their entire marriage is fixed.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing that makes it seem shallow, I suppose. Yeah, they had a moment of flirting. They're going to go home and go to bed together. So all the problems have gone away? No.
Yeah,
it's true.
Exactly.
That doesn't mean they have gone away. And clearly they haven't, because one of the things slips up. But yes, I suppose it all does happen a little bit fast.
Yeah, I just said this all feels a bit premature, and of course it is, but not for the reason that we think, because we know in a moment that Rodney's going to get seen with Trudy. So Rodney even gives Del his key back to the flat. And honestly, I don't really see the reason for that, because he should probably just hold on to it anyway in case of emergency. Like, I have keys to some of my friends' flats in Hong Kong.
Just a gesture.
Yeah. So Rodney says that there's a minicab outside, and Mike says that it's for Del's ex-fiancé. And I don't know why that means that it's Del's responsibility to see her out of the pub. Like, surely the two guys she's been sitting with all night who've been playing her with drinks are the ones who should be looking after her. Like, they're the one that ordered the minicab for her.
Yes.
So Rodney tells Del that he's just seen Raquel and Albert get off the bus.
Raquel's coming in here? Yes. God, she can't see me with that Trudy. You know how jealous she gets.
What? When have we ever seen
Where
Raquel
does she get jealous?
Get jealous? Like...
I skipped over that, but yeah, you're right.
This literally is put in like just so Rodney has to be the one who takes Trudy outside. There's literally no other reason.
Yeah, that's true. And it's just like, oh, women get jealous. No, that's not always the case.
And also, again, like we said earlier, what the fuck is Raquel and Albert doing coming to the pub on the night that she's got her audition, and we see them back in the flat later rehearsing? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. So yeah, I just said this whole setup is very forced, to be honest. So Del asks Rodney to take Trudy outside to her minicab. And again, why didn't the two guys go? Why didn't Del tell the two guys to go? I don't know. So Trudy actually does try to get Del to come back to her place, which I'm guessing, if Del wasn't with Raquel, he might have actually snapped up that opportunity, because I know that he said he thinks like he wants a lady to be a lady, but from what we've heard of Del's past dates and what we know of Del's character, I don't honestly think that he's that fussy if it's offered up to him on a plate.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah. If he hadn't been with Raquel, I think he probably would have gone with Trudy. So the next scene is outside the pub. So any notes on this scene, dude?
Just so I don't have really very much information about her, but Trudy was played by Helen Blizzard, who was in 25 episodes of London's Burning between 1988 and 1992, as well as 4 episodes of The Bill. I wrote that and I didn't put she was in loads of other stuff, so I'm guessing that means that she probably wasn't in that many other things, but I hope I'm not wrong about that. I already mentioned all of the lines that were cut here, but there is another line that's cut here, and I think maybe cut... Well, actually, no, there's no way this is the case that it was cut deliberately. After Rodney takes Trudy out, he turns around back to the pub and says, "Blimey, talk about fatal attraction." And I thought that was quite interesting because it's almost like hinting at the future fatal extraction storyline being an idea in John Sullivan's head already at this point. Obviously, he had not written Fatal Extraction at this point, but maybe he already had a little idea about the idea of fatal attraction for the episode Fatal Extraction in the future, like an obsessive woman.
That is interesting, yeah.
Yeah, but that line isn't in, but I don't know why it would have been cut. So
yeah, that is interesting. Interesting theory as well, dude. You're probably right.
I just think because it's not been unusual for us to hear when we hear about where John Sullivan got his ideas from, that he has ideas years before he writes the episodes. He talked about the Jolly Boys outing being an idea he'd had in his head for a really long time.
Yeah.
When we got just as far as series 2, he'd said he already wanted to do an episode where they go on holiday.
Yeah.
So it's like he obviously had tons of ideas written down, as writers do. Like,
yeah.
Even if they're just minor threads of ideas, he would have maybe already had that idea in his head. Oh, I want to do an episode where there's a woman obsessed with Dal.
Yeah. And Raquel to get jealous. Maybe that's what that line was in there for.
Yeah. Yeah, jealousy of Raquel. Obviously, that must have all happened off screen in the few weeks that she lived with them, getting very jealous.
I mean, Fatal Extraction is literally the exact same storyline as Rodney Come Home. It's just Del instead.
I don't think it's the exact same, but yeah, we'll come back to that later.
Okay, so now we're outside the Nag's Head, and Rodney's trying to escort Trudy to her minicab, but she's so drunk that she can't stand up on her own. At least that's what we're led to believe. So Rodney's propping her up. And I don't know why, but this really made me think of Blossom in Wanted.
Oh, yeah.
Like, poor Rodney always gets stuck with the drunk blondes.
There's actually a mention of that in the Lovely Jubbly book, that the whole situation with Trudy and Rodney reminds them of Blossom. Yeah, I think I didn't put that in my notes, but yeah, that's an interesting parallel.
Yeah. So first of all, there's no way that a minicab driver would allow a woman that drunk into their car. Let's state that first. And second of all, I'm sure that there is a less physical way of getting Trudy into that car than what we see here. So as Rodney has her up against the car, he's looking like he's humping her. And of course, Cassandra happens to drive past at that very moment and sees them. And she looks furious and drives off. Now, there's actually 2 instances of someone driving past at just the right moment in this one episode, which is just really interesting when you think about it. Because the odds of that happening once are very slim, but twice. I think anybody could tell that this is like a drunk woman that Rodney's trying to help into a car. Like, if it was something else, Rodney would have at least been, like, kissing her or something, right? So I just think this is a very flimsy reason for them to fall out again. And I don't think any of us wanted them to fall out again. But as you pointed out many times, dude, we need Rodney and Del together at the flat. Otherwise, it's just not Only Fools and Horses, is it?
I think that's the reason that they do keep falling out. But yeah, I think it's...
Yeah.
You do get a sense of relief knowing they're getting back together in a way. And then this comes along and in classic sitcom fashion.
Yeah.
It's a misunderstanding that can't be corrected. I do think it looks obviously very dodgy, the way that Rodney's like lifting her up against the car. It looks bad, but...
Yeah, so it looks like he's humping her. It does look like that particular moment that is shown that Cassandra sees. It looks like he's humping her up against the car.
But I do think, just imagine placing Series 6 Cassandra into this scenario. Rodney could quite easily have talked his way out of this, and in realistic world, Cassandra would have believed it.
Yes.
But then I don't want to go too far into the future, but after this episode and he can't get back in the flat, she's not in stage fright at all. And the next time she comes round, they don't mention this. They never talk about this again. This is never brought back up, nor again is Tanya.
No.
So there's no repercussions.
Or the events of Sky's the Limit. Yeah, nothing.
Yeah, there's no repercussions to this specific thing needing to be explained away because they were about to get back together. Let's say in the future, Cassandra must believe what he said, which is it was one of Del's old fiancés who was drunk. So why wouldn't they then just be like, all right, let's get back to bed then? Their problems continue again after this.
Yeah.
Straight back to reset.
Is it the Hampton Court maze? Is that at the beginning of Stage Fright, or is that a later episode?
That is 3 Men, a Woman and a Baby. So
Right.
if we do want to just assess the entire timeline of their relationship through the entire series 7, she briefly appears in He Ain't Heavy Is My Uncle, where she pops around to visit Albert.
Yeah.
And then after that, the next episode that truly addresses their relationship again is Three Men, a Woman and a Baby. And they start by trying to spend some time together and end up arguing. But they'd made up, though, and it was just this one misunderstanding.
Yeah.
So could they not have just talked their way past this and then got back into bed?
That seems to be how they resolve their problems in 3 Men, a Woman and a Baby, though, as well. Just going to bed together. All is forgiven.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess after this episode, thankfully, probably for the viewers, we won't, listeners, sorry, we probably won't talk about their relationship that much again now until 3 Men, a Woman and a Baby. But again, they break up over something silly again here, and then it's never addressed. That's pretty much all we're sort of saying.
True. So at the end of the scene, we see that Rodney can very easily take Trudy's hands off him. And she's just standing up fine and not grabbing at him anymore. So why he didn't do that before Cassandra saw them, I don't know. Trudy does actually fall down to the floor at the end of the scene, but not in any way that would hurt her. And then we get this really weird final line from her where she just says,
Rodney.
And then the scene ends. It's really weird.
I don't think I noticed that. She says his name, because how does she know his name?
She says Rodney. Yeah, it's weird. I mean, I guess she would know who Del's little brother was from when they were engaged, but even so, it's just very strange. This ending for this scene, it kind of just fizzles out. I think a lot of the scenes in this episode fizzle out, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that might be true. The only thing I noticed from the script is I always thought that she was pointing at her car when she's like, is that I thought she was saying, is that my car? It's my car there, my car, it's lovely. According to the script, she's saying that about his car, as in she wants him to put her into his car.
Oh, I thought it was the minicab.
No, so she's apparently pointing at her own car here and saying, is that my car there? That's my... No, wait, so she's talking about his car. I always thought it was her car. I thought she wanted to drive, and they're kind of saying, no, you're too drunk to drive. But actually, it's supposed to be hinted that she's trying to get into his car with him, to go home with him.
So why, that's even more confusing for me. Why the hell is Rodney, holding her up against his car? Why isn't he trying to walk her over to the minicab, to put her inside?
Yeah. So that doesn't make sense. My only notes on this scene are, it was filmed on Tuesday, the 16th of October, 1990, outside the White Horse pub in Bedminster, and filmed on the same day as Rodney leaving on his bike in Rodney Come Home, as we mentioned before, because that red car that's parked in the garage in Rodney Come Home when he leaves on his bike is the same car that they had Gwyneth Strong drive here. So it's her car.
Yes.
And that's the only time they had the vehicle, I suppose, for the shoot. That is all I had.
So now we go to a very short scene outside Rodney and Cassandra's flat front door, where we get to see the aftermath of Cassandra seeing Rodney with Trudy. I mean, we don't really get to see the aftermath because we don't even see Cassandra. So we already know how she's going to react anyway. So the new front door does not match the other doors in the building. That was what I said. I'm quite surprised they would have been allowed to have a front door that didn't match the others. But I think I'm thinking of your homeowner associations in the US and everything I've heard about them, because I know they're really funny about stuff like that, but maybe not in these sort of flats. I don't know. So Rodney tries to use the key that Cassandra gave him, but the door's locked from the inside. So that was pointless. And Rodney tries to talk to her, and she just completely ignores him. So he's banging on the door, he's shouting through the door, and Rodney actually tells the truth that Trudy was one of Del's exes, and she still ignores him. So here we get another musical doorbell joke, number 3. So I said at this point, it's kind of lost its impact because we've had this joke 3 times by now. And there's really no reason for Rodney to ring the doorbell here. He's just been banging on the door and shouting. She definitely heard that. So it's so weird that he chooses to ring the doorbell. The only reason is because of the joke that it's the musical doorbell. So the scene ends with Rodney leaning up against the wall, looking depressed, a sight that we've seen far too much over these past few episodes. So, any notes on that scene, dude?
I actually like the doorbell in this moment. I think it's funny because it's, again, one of those things we've forgotten again about that, and then he just presses it and it plays, and I think it's funny. I know that you think the doorbells are overused in this episode, but I think it's one of the best things about this episode.
It is one of the best things about the episode, but they're still overused.
I would have loved to have seen that guy from Rodney Come Home sing his head out the door. It's
gone midnight. What's wrong with your doorbell?
I would have loved that. And then I put finally the French national anthem, and Del's not there to hear it.
Yes.
Viva France. And that's all I said.
Okay, so now we go back to Nelson Mandela, and we've got Raquel sitting there trying to learn her lines. So obviously she came back from the pub. And for anyone that has not tried to learn Shakespeare before, it is an absolute bitch because most of the words make absolutely no sense. And Del and Albert are there listening to Raquel say the lines, and then it's Del's turn to be Orlando. So Del stands up and tries to do some acting.
I prithee, who doth he trot withal?
What are you doing?
I'm acting.
Well, don't. Just read it.
All right. All right. Hang on. I prithee, who doth he trot withal? That all right?
Poor Del. Like, honestly, it's so boring helping someone learn lines and rehearsing with them when you're not in the play. Like, she could have at least let him have some fun with it. Although, admittedly, Raquel is just doing a line run here, so she's not actually acting the part out herself either. So Albert asks when Raquel has to learn this by, and she says, tomorrow morning, which makes him laugh. And to be fair, he's right. She's got no chance. I find it very hard to believe they gave her the part. So Del says that she will be terrific supporting her again, but Albert has some less encouraging words.
Of course you are. And even if you're not, what have you lost?
What do you mean, what have I lost?
Well, it's only a bunch of Nancy actors doing a play which no one can make head and tail of.
There. That makes you feel much better, doesn't it?
I love that line from Albert.
I know.
So funny.
And I've got to say, I agree with Albert. I am probably one of the few drama graduates who really hates doing Shakespeare. Like, I've had to perform so many Shakespearean monologues over the years, and I have never enjoyed doing it.
Yeah, I like Shakespeare. I think there was a huge period of high school that I didn't. But after I did like A-level Shakespeare, I think I started to really like Shakespeare. But I agree with Albert. Most people cannot make head nor tail of Shakespeare.
Yeah. It's true. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I have a lot of friends who are in the acting industry, and, you know, a lot of them, I think all of them really love Shakespeare, and they think it's, you know, profound and amazing, and I just don't see it. Honestly, I appreciate its significance in history and of playwriting, and sort of, you know, how a lot of themes and ideas are still taken from Shakespeare's plays in modern writing today. But the original text, I just think, it's just such a slog to learn and understand.
I think a lot of whether you like Shakespeare a lot or not might depend on who teaches it to you. And I think, again, A-level English lit, maybe, because we had Miss Sims, and I remember our A-level class being a lot of fun and just a nice group of us together.
Miss Sims was a great teacher. Yeah, she was. I actually was never taught by her, but she ran all the drama shows that I was in. So I remember she was cool.
Yeah. And I specifically remember her making boring books fun, and just it was the atmosphere in our class. It was like a nice group of us together hanging out and talking about stuff. So I think a lot of whether you like it or not might boil down to that.
I agree with you. I think, well, I'm a teacher, so I hope that people think that about my teaching, that I make things fun, but who knows, maybe not.
Everyone's like, well, Miss Heather ruined everything.
Yeah, Miss Heather ruined drama for me. I never want to act again. That's true. And maybe there are some people that would say that. Honestly, I can't guarantee it. But actually, I do remember we used to do Room 101. Do you remember that show when you had to make like an argument for things getting put in Room 101, which meant like they were going in the bin, basically?
Yeah.
And I remember we did that in my English lesson, and I managed to convince my English teacher to put Shakespeare in Room 101.
Oh, wow.
Which I was very proud of.
Did your English teacher get fired after that?
I don't think so. I can't even remember which English teacher it was that I did that with, but I remember I was very proud of myself for that achievement.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the episode. So Del gets very angry with Albert on Raquel's behalf, and he asks her to continue rehearsing. And then Del lies and says that he's enjoying himself. So the doorbell goes. Now, I have a question. This is the second time that we've heard the American national anthem from Del's doorbell, right? So he said it plays 36 national anthems. So is it random? Or can you set the anthem that you want to hear? Because if it's on random, then I would assume that multiple people have rang the bell since the last time we heard it play the American national anthem. And that was only earlier this day.
I think that you just choose which setting it's on. So his is set to the USA.
Right.
And then Boise's is set to Mexico forever. And then Rodney's is set to France. Yeah, I don't think it's random. I think because Even though they make the joke, it's in this scene, right, where they talk about how he hasn't heard of any of the national anthems that it plays, or was that in the other scene?
No, that was in the first scene, I think, when
it was.
in.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you didn't include that in your breakdown.
No.
Yeah, so in the previous scene, Albert points out that most of the anthems he's never heard of, and Del says, that he says the Fiji and Borneo and stuff.
Yeah.
So there are all these other anthems, but the three that we hear are all very famous anthems.
Yeah.
So obviously they wouldn't have done it with playing an unknown anthem because it wouldn't have been as funny to the audience. So his has to play that what does his play? Da 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 da, because it has like the impact of the doorbell. It wouldn't have been as funny if it just started playing some unknown tune. So I think that's the other reason. But I think you just set it to the anthem that you want. Who knows? But
Yeah, I mean, I just assumed it was on random, but actually I'm surprised none of them decided to play God Save the Queen. Maybe they thought it would be offensive.
Maybe, I don't know.
What are you doing now? I thought you were staying at your own place tonight.
We've broken up.
You've broken up? What are you talking about? You've only been together an hour. What happened?
She saw me standing outside the Nag's Head with my arm around bloody Trudy.
So Raquel chimes in and says that Rodney deserves it because he had his arm around another woman. And I've got to say, I found this completely out of character for Raquel. Based on the way that she's behaved in the last couple of episodes, she seems to be instantly jumping to conclusions and instantly judging rather than being reasoned and like a sage that she's been portrayed as in the previous few episodes. So I know having your arm around another woman doesn't look great, but it's a very minor offence for such a huge reaction. Although, to be fair, it did look like Rodney was humping Trudy when Cassandra saw him rather than arm around.
But all Raquel knows is that he had his arm around her. That's not cheating.
She's such a bitch here, honestly, to Rodney, the way that she reacts.
Again, it's just done for the joke of her saying, take a leaf out of Del's book. So it's the same as the Del doesn't like fried foods. Like it's slipped in.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's why it's jarring. It's like what you said earlier. So Rodney protests.
Well, Trudy was nothing to do with me. She was the old sort of Del.
Is Raquel deaf? Because she just heard Del's name and Rodney stopping himself. And then as she just looked over, they were going, no, like shaking their head.
Yeah, but she's supposed to be distracted.
Didn't she want to inquire more? Yeah, but she's in the middle of an argument and then she just goes straight back into learning. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
It cuts over to her, doesn't it? And she's like looking down at the book and talking, yeah.
It does, but that's what I mean. It doesn't make sense. Like, you wouldn't do that. You'd still be listening and engaged. You literally were in the middle of a conversation. So Raquel, as I said, annoys me in this part, the way she speaks to Rodney. It's like, it's very kind of Rodney here, actually, not to drop Del in it. Although Del hasn't actually done anything wrong here either.
No.
Other than bumped into an ex who was drunk. So again, a very flimsy excuse for all of this drama, in my opinion.
I've got no pity for you. In fact, you disgust me. Wouldn't do you any harm to take a leaf out of Del's book.
Yeah.
So harsh from Raquel. You disgust me. Because you put your arm around another woman. What the fuck is that?
Yeah.
So, again, Raquel must be blind as well as deaf here, or she would have seen the way that Rodney was staring at Del.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's just ridiculous.
That face is so funny.
Yeah. So, anyway, Raquel leaves and Del has a pretty funny line here.
Don't you look at me in that tone of voice, Rodney.
I really love, Rodney's face and that line.
Yeah, that's a great line.
That makes me laugh.
Yes,
it
does.
Yeah.
One of the few times of this episode that I laugh at that line. So Albert's first thought is that Cassandra might tell Alan. Oh no, two things that never happened.
I know.
Alan finding out, Cassandra telling him, not happening. They always seem to think this, as I mentioned before.
No, Albert says it and they both say she won't in this case, which does go not along with how they normally are. But they do both say she won't, but then the phone rings and it is Alan.
Yeah. So yeah, when the phone rings, they both look really worried. Yeah, you're right. And Del answers. It's like they knew it was going to be Alan. That's so weird. So Del answers and he calls Trotter's Independent Traders Trotter's International Traders when he answers the phone here, which I thought was interesting.
Ah, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, he calls the International Traders, so I guess he's going up in the world. It reminds me of what he tells Denzel to call his company in Danger UXT. So it turns out that it is Alan on the other end of the phone and he wants to see Rodney in work first thing tomorrow morning. So Rodney assumes this is because Cassandra's told Alan what's happened, but Del quite wisely says that it's probably just something to do with work. And then Del goes into the bedroom to help Raquel continue rehearsing the play, leaving Albert alone with Rodney.
Well, that's it, isn't it? Alan is going to sack me.
Can't sack you.
Well, of course he can. He owns a firm, doesn't he?
I'm fairly certain that an industrial tribunal would have something to say about Alan sacking Rodney because he upset his daughter.
Yeah, I don't know.
But the reason that Albert says he cannot sack Rodney is because he needs him too much.
Yeah.
So Albert tells us a during the war story to back up his point. Now, I'm going to play this entire story here just so everyone can hear it.
We docked in Valletta on our way to Greece. We had a chief communications officer on board, Tubby Fox. Now, old Tubby, he liked to live it up once in a while. And one night he was on duty and the captain come in the radio room and caught him with a Maltese girl in one hand and a bottle of gin with the other. Put him under arrest and started court-martial proceeding. The Navy had a wartime rule. Only commissioned officers were allowed to control the radio room. Tubby Fox was the only communications officer on board, so you know what he did? He resigned his commission, which meant the ship couldn't sail. The captain had no choice but to refuse to accept Tubby's resignation. Once he'd done that, he couldn't proceed with the court-martial.
So I just want to point out something about the writing in this moment, because we do have Rodney interjecting throughout the story, but he doesn't have his usual witty comebacks that we get when Albert is telling a wartime story. Like, I think about the story in Strained Relations and The Corridor, or the story at the beginning of Dates with Rodney and Dell, and I just feel like we could have done with some more of those like quips throughout the story rather than this indifference, because the indifference doesn't get any laughs and it kind of makes the story a bit flat, and it's a good story. So I feel like, yeah, I don't know why the writing in this part just doesn't seem like John Sullivan's usual style. I don't know if that's just me.
It's hard to really say much about it, and I guess that's quite telling.
Yeah.
I like the metaphor, the idea, you know,
Yeah.
the ship couldn't sail without the one and everything, and I think it, yeah, I'm not sure if it's the way it's delivered. I think Buster Merrifield does a great way of delivering it. Yeah, it might just be the way it's written.
Yeah.
Rodney's energy is off, I guess. And
yeah, that's what I mean. He hasn't got any witty comebacks. This is what we expect from Rodney when Albert starts with a during the war story, and we don't get any. We just get, yeah, you just ramble. Like, it's not.
Yeah.
It's indifference, not wit.
I think the crux of this, and it'll probably just come back in the next scene, is that Rodney takes from this what Albert's kind of trying to say is that, you know, realize your own importance.
Yeah.
But the problem obviously is that Rodney is not irreplaceable in any way.
No.
And not that important to the operation, because Alan, I mean, let's face it, we've seen that Rodney's not very good at his job.
Yeah.
We already know Rodney has quite a lot of weaknesses in his management style and stuff. And yes, he does seem in this episode like he's good as he gets towards the end. Shit. But he isn't irreplaceable. I mean, we've learned this in the last few years of reality. No one is irreplaceable ever at anything.
No.
And to think that he could get away with this is not a Navy ship where the only person on board can do something.
Yeah.
He could hire anybody to replace him. So
yeah.
Why Rodney, a seemingly smart person, thought that this would apply to him doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, I agree with you. This is out of character for Rodney to take this on board. I agree with you, and actually go to the lengths that he does of following this advice. So yeah, Rodney appears convinced, as you said, of his own importance after this story, and he leaves the room. And then we get a final one-liner from Albert.
He died in Palermo Harbour. Dropped a depth charge in 9 foot of water.
And even this feels quite out of place with Albert talking to himself, like, rather than speaking to Rodney, like, and adding this in the story. Like, there's just something a bit off if you compare this scene to like previous versions of the same type of setup. And again, it just feels like the scene fizzles out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean, but I can't really explain it.
Yeah. Anyway, any notes on that scene, dude?
Oh, yeah, the only other note I had, which you also said, was I don't understand why Raquel doesn't want Del to act, and I think it's so much more fun with Del acting than it was with them just going, pretty whether they drop it all.
I mean, the way that Raquel is doing the lines, I said she's line running, she's not performing it because she can't perform it because she doesn't know the lines well enough.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think it's really nice that Del, did you notice, wasn't using the script when he said, prithee, how do they trot withal? He knew it.
Yeah, he knew it. Yeah.
Obviously, Del should be an actor. That's kind of what this whole episode is about, that Del should be the actor, not Raquel. So now we go to a very short scene. It's purely visual in the wine bar, and Del is hanging out sitting near a glass window and he sees Raquel in the distance walking with some guy who we later find out is the director of the play that she's just been cast in. So she did get the part. Again, miracles do happen. So Del puts the tabloid newspaper that he was reading into his suitcase and he takes out a copy of the Financial Times. So presumably Del is waiting here for Raquel, because it would be a hell of a coincidence for him to be in the wine bar that Raquel and the director happened to go into, right?
Yeah, he's waiting for her.
It doesn't really explain it, though, because she's surprised to see him there in the next scene. So, yeah. Anyway, it's a very short scene. Any notes on that, dude?
No, I didn't even put that in my script.
Yeah, it's literally about Del being a snob and trying to appear sort of smarter by reading the Financial Times, really. That's all that the scene is about.
Right.
Now we go to Parry's print works, and it's actually outside Alan's office, where Rodney is alone and he goes inside the office and leaves a letter on Alan's desk. And of course, we the audience know that this is his resignation letter. So as he's leaving, he bumps into Alan downstairs in the printing room. And Rodney tells Alan that there's a letter on his desk. But then Alan tells Rodney about a new contract that the company has gotten, which it turns out is what Alan actually wanted to see Rodney about.
Yep.
So Alan wants he and Rodney to go and see some new premises because they can't handle the workload in their current premises. So the new contract is really huge. And of course, this makes Rodney's resignation letter just fall out of his head completely, which is strange because he does bring up what happened last night in a moment. And it turns out, we find out that Alan didn't know anything beyond them getting back together because Cassandra saw Trudy and Rodney together after she left Alan's house. So she didn't mention it to Alan afterwards, as we all know that she wouldn't, because she's never sort of grasped on Rodney before. Upon hearing this, I would have gone straight up and got my resignation letter back. Like, I know they're getting into the car, but I would have been like, oh, I need to use the loo. I'll be back in a second, just something. It's just a bit strange here that Rodney doesn't remember that he literally just put the letter there. And upon hearing that Alan doesn't know, that would have been a really good time to go and get it back. It just seems, a bit weird. Rodney doesn't tell Alan, obviously, about them breaking up again, but he would have found out very soon, I'm sure. So again, that doesn't really make any sense that he didn't mention it, because that was going to be very evident the moment they're like, oh, you and Cassandra are back together, come round for dinner. Like, clearly straight away. He would have found out.
Yeah.
So any notes on that scene, dude?
Not much, really. We're just reiterating what I've already said in Rodney Come Home, which is that this was all filmed on the same day as the scenes at the Parry factory for Rodney Come Home, because I guess they just spent Sunday the 14th of October 1990 on that location. And the Parry's print works was actually Gemini Graphics and Print Limited on York Street in St. Werbers, and they changed the name. Andrew Smee made a new sign that said Parry's Printworks, and they filmed on this day Rodney and Alan driving away outside. They filmed Rodney taking the letter in and leaving the note on his desk, and the scene in the print area where he says the business is expanding. And that was all shot on the same day that they did the bit where Raquel and Rodney come out of the office and walk through the print works. So one day location shooting at this particular location. And that's all I wrote. But yeah, I do echo everything you said. It doesn't really make a massive amount of sense that Rodney wouldn't have just been like, oh, I just got to pop to the loo, go back inside, grab the resignation letter. It's almost like he placed it on that desk and then that's set in stone, like it's permanent.
Yeah, it's like he forgot. It fell out of his head. That's what I mean. It doesn't make sense. It's such an important, bold move, so it makes no sense he would have just completely forgotten about it.
But I do think that it's insinuated that once he hears this good news, then he does forget. But then you said he doesn't forget because he's like, Alan, I've got to tell you about last night. So like, yeah. And, I'll echo this in the last scene too. Why didn't he just say on the phone, no, I don't want to resign? I mean, he's his father-in-law. He could have been honest.
Yes,
yeah.
That is exactly what I wrote. I know. I totally agree. Okay, so
anyway, let's not jump ahead.
We've been jumping ahead a lot throughout this recording.
I know.
So we go back to the wine bar. And Del is waiting there, or it seems Del is waiting there for Raquel. So Raquel enters with the director. We find out he's the director of the play. So I asked, how did Del know that they would come in? Because Raquel seemed surprised to see him there.
I don't know.
It's like, did she say, I'm going to go to this bar with the director of the part I don't know I've gotten yet straight after the audition? It doesn't make any sense how Del knows that she's going to be there.
I don't know.
Anyway, I think the way that Raquel treats Del in this scene is really awful.
Me too.
Again, Raquel is so unlikable in this episode. The director is also a bit of a douche towards him, but Raquel being that way is like completely unacceptable in my opinion, considering how lovely Del is to her in most of this episode. So if I was Del, I would be hurt and I'd be upset with her. after this. I also don't understand why Raquel refers to Del as a friend. Like, surely at this point she can tell people that he is her partner. Surely.
I think she says that in this case it's supposed to be hinted that she doesn't want him to think her partner followed her there. So she's just like, oh, he's my friend. I don't think she wanted him to think she was unprofessional by having her partner there. That's the only thing I can think.
I think she's implying that it's unprofessional that Del's there, whether he's a friend or a partner.
It is.
I'd be upset if my partner, when I was meeting someone, referred to me as a friend.
Well,
I mean, they've been together like properly for a while now.
Well, I think this is the second time this happens, right? Do you remember which episode it is in? It's in Chain Gang, right? When Rodney's like, this is Cassandra, and she's like, choose your words carefully, Rodney. And he's like, friend.
Yeah, but that's a flirtatious joke, isn't it? That's not like an actual, like, I'm embarrassed and I have to call you a friend.
I know, I was going to say something else.
Sorry.
I'm going to say that happens in that scene and they've been dating for a couple of months. In this case, I think it's supposed to insinuate, like, it's supposed to do two things. It's supposed to show that she's feeling it's unprofessional that he's there, so she doesn't want to say, this is my partner, and it's supposed to be a foreshadowing thing for the next scene where Del thinks he's losing her because she's not being like, oh, this is my partner, Del, and putting her arm around him. And so it's supposed to set that up.
Things for the sake of the plot, sacrificing character for the sake of the plot. I think that's what this is again. So the way that she acts and speaks here is like she is embarrassed by him, which is exactly what Del accuses her of later in the episode. So you mentioned this scene is pretty much to set up that last scene, probably to give us the tension in that last scene. This director guy really reminds me of Henry in the episode I'm not allowed to talk about.
Oh, why? Because of the same little curly hair?
I don't know. There's something about him. I think it's the sort of posh indifference towards Del that he reminds me of Henry.
Yeah, it's like somewhat polite, but also rude at the same time.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Tolerant, I guess is the right way to say it. So Raquel orders a small dry sherry and Del asks for one too. So that's too small and dry.
Two small dry
sherries. I wouldn't say that.
Oh, I wouldn't say that. I don't know.
I was so happy when I saw that in the script that I was able to make that joke. So the director, Adrian, asks Del what he does, and he totally embellishes, of course, and tries to sell him one of his musical doorbells. So very in keeping with Del's character. I know, he's so lovable. Then Jules, the set designer, enters, and he is the most overtly gay man I think I've seen in anything in a long time. I'm actually curious what it says in the script about the way this actor's meant to play this part, or how they describe this character. Do you have that?
I didn't write it down, but I do remember it just says he's effeminate. That's all it says.
See, I don't consider that effeminate. I consider that very camp.
I don't have the script up in front of me, but it doesn't say much about him. I know that because I would have written more if it had. It just says he's effeminate. So this would be the most obviously gay character that we've had since in the whole show, probably.
In the whole show. Except for maybe the guy who was in the gay bar serving them the cocktails in Go West, Young Man.
That's what I was about to say. I think except for Go West, Young Man, where you have two men dressed in women's clothes and a very effeminate waiter, who I guess, is similar. So he's openly gay, I guess. But again, that doesn't fit in that well with all the things we've talked about where people were uncomfortable with being openly gay, but you can be openly gay in show business, I guess, a little bit more here. I don't know.
I mean, there is some truth to that. Yeah, I think probably of all the sort of industries that were the first to be accepting of it, you're probably looking at the performing arts. Yes.
Yeah, and I think that the character of Jules is probably one of the highlights of the last part of this episode because he's like a breath of fresh air. He's funny, but he's very pleasant. I mean, he's very sweet the way he goes and sits with Del at the table and stuff.
Oh, I completely agree. He's lovely towards Del.
Yeah.
And I think that, Del, again, his character here, he's gone back to his, like, being really homophobic. Almost to the point where he looks a bit sort of disgusted. And of course, the whole joke here is that Del is like, oh my God, don't think I'm sitting here with this gay man. It's just a bit strange after we had this, like, exchange with the great Raimondo.
I think you're right. It's a step backwards in Del's acceptance because we did mention that he wasn't that bad with great Raimondo, and we haven't had that many super homophobic parts of Del But this scene is pretty bad. It's like two things: the way he doesn't want to touch his hands, and then the way that he's like very dismissive of the idea of being considered to be just sitting with him in a bar. Yeah. But again, it's not unusual. It is Del's character. I like the inclusion of Jules here because he's shown to be a very nice guy.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the including him. I agree with you. I'll carry on because I think you probably have some notes that you can add to the rest of the scene. They go to sit at a table and then the director says that he wants some food.
I feel a bit peckish as well.
Yeah, so do I. I think... What?
Well, go and sit at the table. I need to talk to him.
Oh, right.
She's being so mean to Del. Like, I guess John Sullivan wrote it this way so that, again, the final scene would work.
Yeah.
Like, needed to have the idea that Raquel was already changing due to her successful career, which, of course, is what Trigger said earlier. So, you know, this is all building up to that final scene, I guess, to make it more impactful. And as you said, almost misdirect us in how Del would react and everything. So Del is left alone with Jules.
They think I can design magnificent stage sets on peanuts. I mean, these people don't have a budget. It's more like a whip wrap.
Wow, he is literally describing my career in Hong Kong.
They don't have a budget.
The amount of schools that I go into, like, and they're like massively underfunded, but the expectations are ridiculously high. I feel like this all the time. So Del looks visibly uncomfortable just sitting at a table with a gay man, and again, not really in character at this point. I don't think Del would have ever been uncomfortable sitting at a table with a gay man. It's obviously, again, it has to be that way for the scene, for the joke of the scene to work, but it's not really in character. I feel like Del is the most accepting guy. He'd sit with anyone and not sort of make it feel awkward.
But he has been shown to be homophobic before. Like he's pulled faces when talking about gay people and men being, you know, never been anything like that in our family. Like all of that kind of stuff in the earlier series hints that he wouldn't be comfortable around a gay man.
I don't know, but privately is different to publicly. I feel like in public, Del would make the effort to not look like, around the guy. Like I know that Jules doesn't react to it at all in this scene. It's like he doesn't even seem to notice that Del's being like that. But it's very obvious, and anyone would be like, do you have a problem with me? If they were acting the way that Del was. Like, it's just really strange, this whole part. So I've actually got to say one negative thing about Jules, something that he says, is that I really dislike people who think they shouldn't have to muck in and help just because they went to art college or have degrees. And Jules is like complaining about that to Del. Like, did I go to college for 3 years for this? No. Like, I really hate that attitude. I come across people like that a lot in my industry. So it's implied here that gay men don't like football. But again, I guess that's just a stereotype of the times as well. And for the second time in this episode, we get another unbelievable coincidence. So I mentioned this earlier, where Rodney and Alan this time happen to be driving past at the exact moment that Del is sitting with Jules in the window of the wine bar. And Rodney assumes that Del is, on a date with Jules? I don't know what he's meant to assume here. Another ridiculous premise, to be honest, but because that's not the first thing that would come to Rodney's mind, like if he saw Del sitting there with this guy. But yeah, anyway, that's the joke. So Del, in a very obvious way, starts pointing at Jules and shaking his head. And Jules just continues talking like he hasn't noticed that Del's doing that. And again, any normal person would have stopped talking and said, like, why are you shaking your head and pointing at me? It's just very weird. Again.
Jules is supposed to go off into a rant about how beautiful Elizabeth Taylor is and like forget his surroundings, which obviously gay people do that all the time.
He is, but he's looking straight at Del when Del is doing all this. Like, it doesn't make sense that he would just ignore Del pointing and, you know, shaking his head.
I didn't see it like that. I see that he looks like he's like looking off into the air. He's like, her hair cascades everywhere.
Yeah.
Like he's talking about her, like he's not looking at Del. Yeah.
I know that, but he is looking at him in the shot of them together.
It doesn't really look like he's looking right at him. It looks like he's kind of lost in the moment. So I think that I'm not bothered by. I'm not really bothered by any of it. I think that it's all built up to make this joke that, yeah, he's seen with a gay man and he's like not wanting that to be.
Yeah.
It says in the script that he's suddenly self-conscious about the tiny sherry glass. So like holding a little glass of sherry is supposed to be gay. I don't know. This is just a sign of the times because this is very early 90s.
Yeah, it's just the stereotypes, isn't it?
Yeah. This is so early 90s and, you know, there's so many things we could talk about and consider here, but we've talked about a lot of them in the past. It isn't that the show is a homophobic show.
No.
It's just that the character of Del is very homophobic, and a lot of this depicts attitudes at the time. And if John Sullivan were writing a character who was gay, this is exactly the character I'd expect him to write at this time. So, yeah.
Oh, I mean, and again, like, there are gay actors who play very camp characters. I mean, the Carry On films, for starters, like, they're all gay actors and they are very camp. It's not saying that there aren't really camp gay men out there. Of course there are. There's a lot of them. But obviously the difference is that we have to highlight that side of gay men for it to be understood that this is a joke about them being gay. I guess that's the difference now.
Yeah, and I think that also the idea of this scene is supposed to depict the different types of colourful characters that would be in Raquel's life if she continued down this career path. So you've got a very snobby agent or director guy who looks down on Del. And then you've got, so somebody that Del wouldn't be able to bond with. And then you've got Jules, who's a very great, charismatic, friendly person, but Del wouldn't want to associate with him because he's gay. So Del can't fit into this world because for two reasons, those two types of people that Raquel would be spending most of her time with is supposed to be the joke, I think, of it.
I mean, something else I didn't mention, but you've got a couple of sort of these lingering shots of Del looking over at Raquel and Adrian while they're getting food and just looking really bummed out.
Yeah, left out and, you know, like he doesn't belong in that world at all.
Any more notes on that scene, dude?
So the scenes for this wine bar were shot on Sunday, October 2nd, 1990 at Henry Africa's Hot House Restaurant on White Ladies Road in Clifton, Bristol, and the restaurant was closed that day, so that made it quite easy to do the shoot. So they had to open it up, do the shoot with some extras and stuff. And that petrol station across the street is the White Ladies filling station, and this plus Raquel and Adrian walking across the street shot from the previous little cut, that was all shot on the same day. And a little bit of notes here about the actors for Adrian and Jules. So Adrian was played by an actor named Ian Redford, who has a huge credit list on IMDb. He's been in so many things.
He looks very familiar.
Yeah, and he was actually in Coronation Street at a time that you would have watched it. I wonder if you recognize him now when I tell you this. He plays Keith Appleyard for years and years.
Yes,
he's the grandfather
of Craig Harris and Katie Harris. Yeah, oh my God. Yeah, because obviously he's much older when he plays that part. Yes, that's probably why I recognize him so much when I watch this.
Yeah, I never made that connection until I saw this on IMDb, and I watched Coronation Street at that time. I remember Keith, so I was like, oh yeah, that is Adrian, but he doesn't really look the same. Obviously he's a little older, but... Well,
no, he's not posh. He's very down to earth and grounded in Coronation Street, so that makes sense that you wouldn't associate him with this.
Yeah, he's different, but been in tons of other stuff, so that's probably not one of his main credits.
Yeah.
So Jules was played by an actor, and I hope I pronounced this name right. His name is Paul Opasek, and he went on to be in tons of well-known shows like Emmerdale Farm, Bad Girls, Hollyoaks, and he's been in Coronation Street too, in fact, in recent years, and you might not have seen it because I know you don't watch it anymore, but he plays Stephen Brent, who's the father of Corey Brent. And I recognize him once I look at the picture.
Yeah, I don't know who those characters are.
Yeah, he's new. He's been like a villain kind of character in the last few years. But this is actually listed as his first role on IMDb. So for somebody who went on to be so huge and recognizable from like Hollyoaks, it's actually kind of cool that this was his first role.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
And that's all I had for that scene.
So now we're back at the flat, and Raquel is sitting on the couch reading a letter, looking very somber, as Del is helping himself to a drink at the bar, and Albert is sitting in his chair. And then we see that Rodney's sitting at the dining table reading the new contracts and information about the new premises. So I still cannot believe in all this time that he's not remembered about his resignation letter on Alan's desk. It's still just completely not slipped his mind at all. So Albert implies that he's already sick of hearing about the new premises from Rodney, so we can assume that Rodney's been talking about that constantly since he got home. So Del is pouring some champagne, I think it is, or maybe Prosecco, to celebrate for Raquel getting the part. And he's once again being very supportive.
Yeah, Raquel, I'm going to get all the hounds to come down to your first night. Hey, Raquel? Raquel?
Sorry, what did you say?
I said we'll get all the boys to come down to your first night. You know, Trigger, Boise, Rodney, me, a lot. And then when you come on stage, we're all going to give you a big cheer, like we're all going to go, hooray! And that, what's his name, that Adrian, will think that you got a fan club already, wouldn't he?
So Raquel practically ignores what Del has just said, and Albert tells her to cheer up because she got the part. And then Del tries to give her the champagne, but she refuses. And of course, we know why soon. but she says that it's because she has a letter to read and she wants to read it with a clear head. So she dismisses herself and goes to the bedroom. And understandably, Del feels dejected and cannot understand why she's so depressed.
I don't know. Ever since she's come back from that audition with that Adrian and all them other actors, she's been different. I don't know, maybe we embarrass her or something.
Oh, Raquel's not like that.
You don't know, Rodney. A cravat and a codpiece can turn a girl's head.
So the phone rings and it's Alan. And Rodney picks up and immediately starts gushing about the new premises until Alan cuts him off.
What letter? Oh, yeah, that letter. Yeah, let me explain. It was, it was a token, a gesture. Yeah. Well, the situation that existed then between Cassandra and I may have been causing you some embarrassment, and, well, I just wanted you to know that I was aware of it. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Fine. Just let me get this straight, Ellen. When you say you've accepted my letter of resignation, what exactly do you mean?
Rodney looks shell-shocked as he gets off the phone, realising what a fuck-up he's made, and Del and Albert are right there with him.
You stupid little plonker. That's the bestest job you've ever had, or ever likely to have, and you've chucked it away.
Listen, I am in control of my own destiny. I am my own man. I make my own decisions in this world.
Then why did you resign?
Because he told me to.
I do like that line.
I know. Del is probably correct here that this is the best job that Rodney's ever likely to have. And Rodney blaming his resignation on Albert is quite rich, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I'm quite surprised that he can't just say, and you said this earlier, that he didn't mean to resign and I'd like to take it back. Would that be possible? I mean, Rodney only has the job because he's Cassandra's husband. So surely he can have the job back again because of that privilege, right? Like, I know that Alan says, or it says later in the scene, that Alan already found someone to do the job. But I'm still thinking that Rodney would still have the privilege to be like, no, get rid of them. I mean, he's literally just told the guy, right, that he can have the job. So Alan hasn't even gone to work. I mean, Alan must have gone into the office after it was closed because it's nighttime to get the resignation letter, right? So how did he tell the new guy that he's got the job already? Did he call him like after work hours and be like, hey, you've got promoted, as soon as he read Rodney's resignation letter? It all just seems a bit quick.
The whole thing is very quick because it all happens, that evening. Yeah, maybe Alan went back to work after he viewed the premises. That's believable. But yeah, he found somebody to replace him in the few hours after work between going and getting the letter.
Yeah.
I have to assume this is late. Maybe this is like 11 p.m. But then why would he call?
Late.
So maybe it can't be that. He wouldn't call that late, so maybe it's not that late.
Again, time frame, no idea. So it seems to me that Alan was very happy for Rodney to resign, though, which is something else you said earlier. So maybe he knew that Rodney wasn't doing a great job in the first place, and this was like a blessing that Rodney had resigned.
Yeah. This could be a sigh of relief from Alan. Oh, thank goodness. But he doesn't seem like he feels that way earlier on in the episode when he talks to Rodney. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. So Rodney and Del continue to argue, with Del making Rodney feel stupid for resigning. And here is where Rodney says that Alan found someone else. We find out it's Rodney's soppy assistant. So I thought initially it was the one in the Jolly Boys outing, but then he's described as Elvis. So this doesn't sound like him. I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I put that too because I feel like we don't find anything else out about that guy. That guy could be Elvis, couldn't he?
I mean, Del seems to know an awful lot about this assistant of Rodney's. Like the way he describes him and talks about him.
Rodney's supposed to have worked there for years, so that's believable that Del would have popped in the office and met his his co-workers. So yeah,
it's your own fault, Rodney. You got no one else to blame. You got a lovely wife, a lovely flat, the bestest job in the whole world, and you blew it.
So Rodney tries to have a comeback, pointing out that Del had lunch with a gay guy, basically. And that embarrasses Del and throws him off a little bit. But Del is spot on with what he said to Rodney. We think back here, or should I say I think back here, to Little Problems when Rodney left that upstairs room at the Nag's Head after his wedding reception and everything was mapped out for him and he's just lost it all in the space of 4 episodes. Like, it's pretty crazy when you think about it. Like, where we've gone from the end of Little Problems to here, Rodney's everything that he had has gone at this point.
Yeah. And so, again, we talked about this before. We need Rodney's character living back at Nelson Mandela, and the next episode, we need him back with Trotter's Independent Traders. And honestly, doesn't the quality of the show improve so much better once he's back with Trotter's Independent Traders?
It does, but I do think that one of the reasons the quality of the show suffered for these last few episodes is because John Sullivan was breaking up Rodney and Cassandra. So I don't know. It's a bit of a weird one.
Yeah, but the next 4 episodes of the series, I feel, are much better than the first 2.
They are. I agree.
And including Rodney Come Home, the first 3. So once Rodney's back and we get back to Trotter's independent traders' antics and everyone together, things are better. And you don't need Cassandra for that at all.
Well, I also feel like the next few episodes are stronger because the story is stronger for all those episodes, and it's consistent and it's all the way through, and it doesn't feel as sort of broken up and fragmented as these 2 episodes do.
But there's a lot, if you think about it, a lot of Del and Rodney together for the next 4 episodes of the series.
Yeah.
With the exception maybe of 3 Men, a Woman and a Baby, where Del's more with Raquel, but you would say mostly Del and Rodney together is what makes the show great. So
of course it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
All of these 3 episodes, Rodney Come Home, The Sky's the Limit, and The Chance of a Lunchtime, are very Rodney's marriage breaking up heavy.
Exactly.
They're somewhat weak on plot, as we've talked about. Lots of arguments and stuff. So yeah, I think getting Rodney out of this print works and back into the partnership is bringing the essence of the show back.
Yeah, it's just a shame that we had to sacrifice a few episodes, that could have been amazing just to sort of get back to where we started at the beginning of series 6. This scene also kind of fizzles out. I feel like because of all the drama, it might have just been difficult to end the scene on a big laugh, which is something I feel like we get a lot more of in the earlier series than we do by this point. Again, just another fizzled scene. They're just sort of in a mood and the scene fades. So any notes on that scene, dude?
I think I pretty much said everything already, and that you've kind of echoed what I said. I feel bad for Del. He's very enthusiastic. He's trying to be very reassuring to Raquel, and she's just staring off into space. Again, timeline reference here. She was at the audition today.
Yeah.
She was at the dinner today. She had sherry and everything today. But since then, she is certain that she's pregnant.
Yeah.
I feel like a man obviously wrote this. Because you can be certain, I guess, if you took like 20 pregnancy tests, but it's my understanding that you would still need a doctor to confirm it before you would say it's certain.
I think so, yes.
So I don't care that much about this, but I do think it's interesting how quickly she's gone from being cheerful at the audition to, and again, a man obviously wrote this. She's upset, so she's not talking to anybody. She's staring off into space. She's being passive aggressive. Like,
must be pregnant.
I was just gonna say, I hate passive aggressive behavior. I hate it when people go, I'm fine, when they're obviously not, when they're in a mood and they want you to ask them why they're upset.
That's a really good point, actually. I didn't think about that. So she has a drink. She orders a sherry. So she knowingly drinks alcohol at lunchtime. So when did she suspect that she was pregnant?
Men don't want to hear this, but women will think they're pregnant for several reasons that we won't necessarily bring up. But you wouldn't be acting completely normal and then just be like, oh, I think I'll take a pregnancy test.
No.
You would have an inkling or something.
Yes.
Unless she happened to have pregnancy tests at home. Like, did she have Del drop her off at the chemist after the audition so she could get one? Because it insinuates that she only goes shopping when Del drives her or in the daytime.
Yes.
When did she get the pregnancy test? It's all just very quick and rushed. And yeah, I know we shouldn't look into all this as much, but she would have probably already had a thought that she might be pregnant before the end of this episode. Yeah. So I know it's supposed to catch us, the audience, off guard. So maybe this was a deliberate tactic to catch us off guard. But in reality, so she finds out she's pregnant and she immediately thinks Del's going to be angry. I know we'll talk about this in the next scene.
Yeah.
But I just don't understand why you would be the way you are. Why is she this way if she thinks Del's going to be angry? If it were me, I might be tiptoeing around the issue a little bit more. I'd want to talk to him straight away and I'd want to be like, if you're angry, let's get this out. But why would you be scared of him being angry? Like, you have a right to get pregnant. Like, it's human, it's natural.
And also, why would she think Del would be angry? Del seems like chill about this sort of stuff.
Yeah, and if she's able to have gotten pregnant, that means that they're not using contraception, which means it's both of their responsibilities that she's pregnant. It's not her fault. It's not her responsibility. So if she did think Del was angry, it wouldn't be fair that he would be angry.
No.
But again, maybe this is just male writing. And I don't really have anything else that we haven't already said.
Okay, so now we go to the final scene of the episode, and we are back in Del and Raquel's bedroom, I suppose we can say now. So Raquel is looking super depressed, and we know we're in for a funny scene. Only joking. It's more drama. So Del enters reluctantly, and Raquel doesn't even look at him when he walks in. So Del obviously assumes that Raquel is going to break up with him here, I think. And Raquel is being as frosty as a Yeti. And Del finally tries to get her to speak to him about what's bothering her.
Look, sweetheart, if we've had a row, could you at least tell me about it?
We haven't had a row. Everything's fine.
It's not fine, Raquel. It's not fine. Ever since you came back from that audition with that Adrian and Jules and all them others, you've been different towards me. I mean, what is it? Aren't I as good as those actor cronies? Do I embarrass you or?
Don't be stupid, Del.
I am not stupid, Raquel. I'm not being stupid. Because I saw your face, you see. I saw your face when that Adrian asked me what I thought about Hamlet. And I said I preferred Costellas. I saw your face.
I mean, I do like that line about the Hamlet
line.
and Costellas. I did not used to get that line because I didn't know what Hamlet and Costellas were when I was a kid. But so it's pretty obvious that Raquel was embarrassed by Del from the way she acted in the scene in the wine bar. So Del is not being stupid. And for her to snap at him like that is just so out of order again. So Raquel continues to stare blankly ahead while Del takes off his dressing gown. And then Del tries to show interest in the new job that she's gotten. But he does have a more sarcastic tone now compared to the first scene in the bedroom when he was being really supportive. So there's actually a funny line in here where Del says,
Gives you plenty of time to meet some more of your intelligent, sensitive actor people, don't it?
Derek, will you get it into your thick skull? I'm not trying to meet intelligent and sensitive people. I'm happy with you.
I really like David Jason's reaction to that line as well. So now Del finds out that Raquel is planning to go on a tour, and that's what he thinks the problem is. And then he gets very defensive and starts to make fun of Raquel's dreams.
The lure of the big theatres. The applause, the show must go on and all that.
We find out here that the tour is actually a school tour, which makes sense because they're always trying to make kids learn Shakespeare. And Del continues to make fun of her and says that she could end up being a dinner lady, which prompts Raquel to say something very emotional.
Don't become like all the others, Del. Putting down every little dream I have.
I'm not trying to put your dreams down, sweetheart. You know I never do that. It's just that I don't want you to leave me.
So Del, very vulnerable here, fully on display, and it's good that he's honest with her and he doesn't try to put on a front, because I think in the olden days that's probably what he would have done in this situation. So the honesty is very important. But Raquel says that she's not going on the tour.
I can't do that tour, Del.
Why not?
Because I've read the play again and again, and at no point does Shakespeare mention that Rosalind is pregnant.
There's always poetic licence, isn't there?
So Del doesn't click straight away that Raquel is pregnant with his child. But there is quite a bit of tension here as we wait to hear what Del's reaction is going to be to this news. So Raquel thinks that he's going to be angry, which is what we discussed earlier. And Del actually goes to leave the bedroom looking like he's storming off. But then we get to see how he really feels.
Hey, Albert, quick, come. Get me the biggest bottle of champagne you can find out there. Bring it in. Come on, come, quick. Rodney, all right, get out of bed, you lazy devil. Get out. Quick, come in. Here. Tonight we celebrate. Hooray!
You're not angry.
Me angry? How can I be angry? I'm going to be a daddy.
Oh, I'll tell you what to do. I'll phone everybody up. I'll phone them all up. I'm going to have a party. We'll have a party. And we're going to have fireworks, the biggest fireworks. And we're going to celebrate.
No, what's all the fuss about?
What's happening?
Calm down, you two. Just calm down. Listen to me. I'm going to answer one simple question, right? How many people do you see standing there?
One.
No. I see two.
Well, you know what this means, don't you, Albert?
No.
Either Raquel's pregnant,
Oh, Daryl's pissed.
So the ending of the episode is a bit of a highlight for me because I feel like we've just sat through a load of doom and gloom again, and finally we get some happiness. And the final line of the episode is also a funny and a memorable one. So I feel like John Sullivan was really leaning into the drama again in this episode, and for me it was just a bit too much. And you know, I said this in Rodney Come Home, I would have really liked more jokes and more funny moments intertwined with the drama. So that's the final scene. Any notes, dude?
Just a few notes on this scene. So I feel very sorry for Del in this scene, and David Jason's acting is really good.
Agreed.
He plays, especially that little bit that he does before he goes in the door to sort of psych himself up for talking to Raquel, shows how important this is to him.
Yeah.
This is not just he's going to go in there and be like, oh, stop being in a bad mood, tell me what's going on. Like, he feels like he's about to get dumped here.
Yeah.
And yeah, we, the audience, probably seem to think that too.
Yeah.
Because it does actually feel like he's right. She came back from that audition and she's suddenly not speaking to him and she's gone all distant. And that is normally what happens right before you're about to get dumped. You start getting like cold-shouldered, right?
Yeah.
So we, the audience, feel really sorry for Del. And he brings it up, you know, and she's not getting any better. She's being like, nothing's wrong, everything's fine. I hate that.
Yeah, I hate that too.
It just really irritates me. Because if you're upset, or if you're going to be upset,
so obviously,
like, everybody's entitled to their emotions, but you want me to ask what's wrong, and then you don't want to tell me. It's like that from Del.
Yeah.
Like, you can tell, but then him saying, like, if we've had a row, can you at least tell me about it? I think that's something that, again, written by a male writer.
Yes.
Who's had that happen to him a few times with a woman. I love the Hamlet line. I really think that's really funny. David Jason's facial expression when she says, like, don't become like all the others, Del, when he like closes his eyes and almost curses himself for kidding around.
Yeah.
That speaks volumes. That's really, really well done.
It mirrors the first scene very well, doesn't it?
Yeah. The fake anger thing, I don't get it. I guess it's all just, again, built up to be a good reveal.
Dramatic. Yes. I think John Sullivan really wanted everything to be dramatic, didn't he, when we get to these episodes?
David Jason's done this a lot of times throughout. Like, they've got that David Jason's reaction in the foreground thing, you know, where he comes up to the camera and we see what he's thinking and we see the person behind not knowing what he's thinking. It's done with Rodney a few times. Like the shallow as a worm's grave thing.
But that's obviously done for laughs in that situation.
It shows him walking away and shows his stony expression, and then he breaks into this massive smile, and the end of the episode suddenly turns into this huge high, this everything's great moment.
Yes.
So I like it. I love the end. I love the last line as well. It's a very good line. It's well written. The whole...
Yeah.
And the bit where David Jason runs over to them and goes, calm down, you two.
Yes.
That is not in the script at all. But I think that's really funny because they're obviously just standing there in their dressing gowns and he's all hyped up.
Yeah.
I love that. And that's it.
Okay, cool. So if there's nothing else, let's move on to our awards segment.
Okay, so as always, we have 3 awards to announce this week, and we will start with Plonker of the Week.
You stupid little plonker.
So for Plonker of the Week, we will each nominate a plonker, and we will discuss and decide who wins. So, dude, who's your nomination for Plonker of the Week this week?
Raquel, because she's mean to Del and Rodney, and she's annoying throughout this entire episode.
I nominated Rodney.
Okay. What's your reason?
Because for listening to the Albert story and interpreting it completely wrong and resigning from his job. I don't know why he did it.
Because the writers told him he had to.
Because the writers told me to, yeah. It's a very silly move. He basically messes up his entire future over a silly during the war story.
Yeah, it's a tough one because I agree with you. Rodney is also a total plonker in this episode, but Raquel's, honestly, it's just the bit where she does the honestly, you disgust me part. Like, I just think that is ridiculous to say if a man had his arm around another woman. That is just unbelievable. Unbelievably over the top. And actually the way she treats Del in the wine bar scene, I really think she's awful to him for no reason in that scene. And that's before she found out she's pregnant, so she has no excuse.
Yeah, I can see your points, but I think that this was a big, really big, epic plonker moment for Rodney in the whole arc of the show because he loses his job over some stupid story that Albert told him. So I know Raquel is a plonker, but, you know, You could blame it on pregnancy hormones, maybe. She was pregnant the whole episode. She had to have been.
All right, well, I will concede this week and we'll give it to Rodney then, because you're right, it is a really dumb thing for him to do and it makes no sense for the plot.
And he could have corrected it. He could have just run back up the stairs and grabbed the letter, and he didn't.
Easily.
So 2 big silly plonker things.
Okay, so Rodney is this week's plonker of the week.
Oh, no, I won't bloody know now, don't I?
Okay, so this week Heather will award best line of the episode and I'll be doing best moment. So dude, what have you chosen for the best line of the episode?
I actually only have 2 nominations for this week, which is quite rare because usually I have quite a few. So I have "Don't you look at me in that tone of voice, Rodney," because I really love it. And the other one, of course, is "Either Raquel's pregnant or Dell's pissed." So yeah, those are the only 2 I have. Do you have any more nominations?
I nominated a couple others. I put, "I'll just be myself, eh?" No, try to make an impression, Rodney. I thought you'd barned laughing in this pub. I nominated, "I noticed you approaching my wife and shaking her warmly by the iris."
Yeah, that's a funny line. Very true.
Yeah, but actually I think the end line is the best.
It is the best.
Because it ends on a high. So yeah, I would say out of your 2 nominations, that's my favourite of the 2.
Yeah, either Raquel's pregnant or Dell's pissed. Yeah, I think it's memorable as well. So let's give best line to "Either Raquel's pregnant or Dell's pissed."
And then I have chosen my favourite moment of the episode. So let's see. Okay, I didn't nominate more than 1. My favourite moment is the first time that Rodney comes in and we hear the national anthem doorbell the first time, where he's like, "Ring the bell, ring the bell."
Yeah.
Da, da, da. And my favourite part of that specifically is those last few bars when Dell opens the door slowly and proudly. Da, da, da.
Yeah.
Just his face.
I think, as I said, as a kid, I think that's literally the only thing I remembered after this episode.
Yeah.
After I'd watched it, that there's a musical doorbell and that was funny. So yeah, I think that's a fair... I have one other mention that you could consider, which is, of course, the end.
Yeah, the end.
Where Dell finds out that he's going to be a daddy. I love the way he says, "I'm going to be a daddy."
That's true.
So...
yeah, that bit is a very happy moment of the episode and is a good contender for best moment as well, to be honest. I think I'm giving it to the doorbells because that's the thing that...
yeah.
Overall, out of Only Fools and Horses, people remember that there's an episode about the doorbells. But again, whether they remember that it's in this episode or not, this is the thing I wanted to just talk about as my very last point here. And that is the title of this episode, "The Chance of a Lunchtime." It's obviously referring to Raquel's opportunity to grow her career, right? The chance of a lifetime.
Yes.
But several points about this. First of all, is it the chance of a lifetime? It's just one play, one audition. And it wasn't really that big of a deal, it sounds like. She could have... This could have been...
She implies that it would have been. She says, "Imagine what it could have done for me if she'd gone on the tour."
Yeah. Really, though? Is it... I mean, you work in the industry. Is one tour going to make your whole life better?
Well, as you have pointed out when you've been listing the credits of a lot of the actors in Only Fools and Horses, you always start with one little role and you never know what it can do for you. It's not a guarantee, obviously, that if you do a small role that you'll get bigger parts, but it happens, you know, and the way to move up in the acting industry is to be seen, and a tour around the UK probably would have given her a lot of exposure. So, I mean, it could have led to bigger things. She's not wrong in saying that.
But she went on a tour of America as well. I mean, I just don't think this is the chance of a lifetime. So if it had been some massive thing, like maybe a movie role or something, I think the title might have made more sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then also, chance of a lunchtime... Specifically, what lunchtime and why?
I guess they're referring again to the wine bar scene because it's lunchtime and she's meeting the director. That's the only reference I can think of that is anything to do with lunchtime.
Yeah. So it's not the most... So, like, I know it's silly, but we were kids when we first watched the show. So
yeah,
I was very simplistic when I was a kid. Yuppie love. I knew that episode was about Rodney's love story. The Sky is the Limit. I knew it was about the plane.
Yeah.
He Ain't Heavy is My Uncle. I knew it was about Albert. A lot of the titles are very descriptive of what happens in the episode. This title, first of all, it doesn't spring to mind exactly what it's about.
Yeah.
And the main thing that people remember about it is the doorbells. There's no hint to that at all in the title. So this is probably the reason that this episode is maybe a little forgettable, or the plot doesn't really seem to have any specific central point to it. It just happens, it's there, but it isn't about anything in particular. It's not about
That's why
anything.
the musical doorbells are latched onto, because that's what people think it's about, but actually that's a C plot, if anything. Yeah,
so that's the thing. I just don't.
I mean, it could also refer to a fleeting opportunity, like a very short length of time that the opportunity is present, because it's just like for one lunchtime that, you know, the equivalent of her whole life. It's just a lunchtime opportunity and then it's gone.
Just doesn't stick in your head, does it?
No, that's true.
What it's about.
Let us know in the comments if you have any ideas where you think the title of this episode came from.
Well, I mean, I think I know that it is about her chance and her opportunity.
The lunchtime thing, though, is interesting.
Yeah, I just don't think it was the best choice of title for this one. That's all.
Yeah, I'd agree with you there.
But in most cases, like most of John Sullivan's titles are really good, and so you only have to hear the title and the episode springs to your mind. So I think this is one that doesn't.
That's true, actually. I never thought of it that way. I mean, Yesterday Never Comes is one I can think of that doesn't really tell you much about the story.
Yeah, I mean, that one was written deliberately because it's supposed to be about something from the past, the antique. But yeah, the fact that most of the plot is about his relationship with Miranda and not about the antique, that's why maybe. But all the others, I mean, most of the time when you say the name of it,
you get it.
You know why. Like, think about something as simple as One Door Closes. That's written because he's selling the Lowry doors. Yeah. This episode could have probably had a title relating to the musical doorbells that people might have been more like, oh yeah, the episode with the musical doorbells. But because it's called The Chance of a Lunchtime, that doesn't hint the doorbells at all. No one remembers that the doorbells are in this episode.
No, that's very true. It should have been called When Opportunity Knocks or When Opportunity Rings or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And then if you ever ask anybody, like just ask a fan out of the blue if they know what the episode with the doorbells is called. I'm sure a lot of them don't. And also people will only call this episode the one with the doorbells.
The doorbell
they
episode.
Won't call
That's
it
what I used to call it as well.
Yeah. So if there's nothing else, drink up, we're leaving.
Okay, so that about wraps it up for this week. Join us in 2 weeks when we'll be discussing Series 7, Episode 3, Stage Fright. Until then... Au revoir, listeners. If you like what you hear and want to contact us, please email us at longlivehookystreetpodcast@gmail.com. Wherever you are listening to us, please give us a like, subscribe, or follow. And it really helps us out if you give the podcast a rating or review. Use our Linktree to check out our Facebook and Instagram pages. And if you feel inclined, you can buy us a pina colada on buymeacoffee.com. Bonjour.